When Ryan Cooper pulled over on Highway 14 that freezing November morning, he had no idea the bleeding woman trapped in that mangled SUV would change his life forever. He was just a struggling single dad trying to do the right thing. She was a stranger fighting for consciousness. 3 days later, she walked into his garage, not as a victim, but as his new boss. This is the story of how one act of kindness rewired two broken lives. Stay until the end and comment what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The dashboard clock read 6:47 a.m. when Ryan Cooper's Ford pickup shuddered to life in the pre-dawn cold. Frost clung to the windshield like a stubborn ghost, and his breath came out in pale clouds as he cranked the heater. The engine coughed once, twice, then settled into its familiar growl, rough but reliable, just like everything else in Ryan's life. He rubbed his hands together, waiting for warmth that wouldn't come for another mile or two, and glanced back at the small house behind him. The porch light was still on. Emily would be asleep for another hour, curled up under the quilt his mother had made before she passed. Mrs. Chen next door had already agreed to get Emily on the school bus. Good woman, Mrs. Chen. Never asked for much, just kept an eye out the way neighbors used to do before everyone started living behind locked doors and security cameras. Ryan pulled onto Maple Street, the tires crunching over scattered leaves painted gold and crimson by the streetlights. Ashford wasn't a big town, 20,000 people if you counted the farms on the outskirts, but it was home. He'd grown up here, met Sarah here, buried her here 3 years ago when the cancer finally won. Now it was just him and Emily, and that was enough. It had to be. Highway 14 stretched out before him like a gray ribbon disappearing into the hills. The road was empty this early, just the occasional semi-hauling goods to the distribution center outside Millbrook. Ryan preferred these quiet drives. No traffic, no noise, just the radio playing low, some classic rock station that still remembered when guitars meant something, and the rhythm of the road beneath his wheels. He took a sip of coffee from the thermos Emily had filled for him last night. She'd even drawn a smiley face on the side with a Sharpie. 9 years old and already taking care of him. Some days Ryan wondered if he was raising her or if it was the other way around. The sun was just beginning to think about rising, painting the eastern sky in shades of deep purple and burnt orange. Ryan loved this time of morning, that moment between night and day when the world held its breath. Out here, with the farm spreading out on either side and the Cascade foothills rising in the distance, he could almost forget about the stack of bills on the kitchen counter, the leak in the bathroom ceiling he hadn't had time to fix, the way Emily's shoes were getting too small again. The radio crackled, something about traffic on the interstate. Ryan barely listened. His mind was already at the garage, running through the day ahead. 2 oil changes, a brake job on the Henderson's minivan, and that stubborn transmission problem on Old Man Wallace's Chevy. Pete, his boss and the garage owner, had been hinting about the regional manager position opening up. New corporate oversight, he'd said. Someone from headquarters coming in to streamline operations. Ryan didn't love the sound of that. Corporate types usually meant budget cuts and efficiency reports, but Pete had pulled him aside last week and said, "Keep your nose clean, Cooper. Do good work. This could be your shot." A promotion would mean more money, real money. The kind that could get Emily those piano lessons she kept mentioning, maybe even save up for college someday. The kind that would let Ryan stop choosing between fixing the furnace and buying groceries. He was thinking about all this, letting his mind wander the way it did on these empty morning drives, when he saw it. At first it was just a glint of metal where metal shouldn't be. His brain registered it half a second before his eyes focused. A vehicle, silver, off the road. Way off the road. The front end was crumpled against a drainage ditch, the rear wheels lifted at an angle that made his stomach drop. Jesus, Ryan muttered, his foot already hitting the brake. The pickup's tires squealed as he pulled onto the shoulder, gravel spraying. He threw it in park and was out the door before the engine finished shaking, his heart suddenly hammering against his ribs. It was an SUV, a Lexus, he registered automatically. Nice one, too. But it looked like a toy a giant child had thrown in a tantrum. The hood was accordioned, steam hissing from the radiator. The driver's side door was crumpled inward, spiderweb cracks radiating across the windshield like frozen lightning. And inside, slumped over the deflated airbag, was a woman. "Hey!" Ryan shouted, running down the shallow embankment. His work boots slipped on the frost-slick grass. "Hey, can you hear me?" No response. The smell hit him as he got closer, burning oil, coolant, and something else, something metallic and sharp. Blood. The woman's head was turned toward him, her dark hair matted with it, a thin trail running from her temple down to her jaw. Ryan grabbed the door handle. Locked. Of course it was locked. "Ma'am," he called, louder this time, banging on the window. "Ma'am, I need you to unlock the door." Her eyelids fluttered. Just barely, but it was something. His mind raced. The truck. He had tools in the truck. Ryan scrambled back up the embankment, his legs burning, and yanked open the toolbox in the pickup's bed. His hands closed around the tire iron, cold and solid, and he was back at the SUV in seconds. "I'm going to get you out," he said, not sure if she could hear him, not sure if he was saying it for her or himself. "Just hold on." He wedged the flat end of the tire iron into the door frame near the lock and pulled. Nothing. He repositioned, planted his feet, and threw his weight into it. Metal groaned. Something gave way with a sharp crack, and suddenly the door was open, swinging out with a screech of damaged hinges. The woman pitched forward. Ryan caught her, his arms going around her shoulders, her weight collapsing against him. She was small, he realized, 5'5" maybe, slight build, but dead weight is always heavy. He eased her back against the seat, his hand automatically going to her neck to check for a pulse. It was there, rapid but steady. "Okay," he breathed. "Okay, you're okay." Her eyes opened. They were brown, he noticed, dark and unfocused, pupils dilated with shock. She tried to speak, but only managed a weak sound, something between a word and a whimper. "Don't try to talk," Ryan said, already pulling off his jacket. November in Washington meant 40 degrees on a good morning, and his breath fogged in the air, but she was shaking, full-body tremors that meant shock setting in. He wrapped the jacket around her shoulders, tucking it close. "You're in shock. The paramedics are coming." Except they weren't, because he hadn't called them yet. Ryan fumbled for his phone, nearly dropped it, finally got it out and dialed 911. His hands were shaking too, he realized. Adrenaline. 911, what's your emergency? "There's been an accident on Highway 14, mile marker 32, eastbound. Single vehicle in a ditch. One person injured, conscious but in shock. Possible head injury." "Units are being dispatched. Sir, are you trained in first aid?" "Some," Ryan said. "Auto mechanics learned the basics. Had to, when you worked with machinery that could take a finger off." She's breathing. Pulse is steady. Head wound. Bleeding but not gushing. I think... He looked down at the woman's legs, pinned at an awkward angle beneath the collapsed dash. "I think her leg might be trapped. Don't try to move her. Help is approximately 8 minutes away." 8 minutes. Might as well be 8 hours when someone's bleeding. "Understood," Ryan said, and hung up. The woman's eyes had closed again. Ryan touched her shoulder gently. Hey, stay with me." Those brown eyes opened, focusing on him with effort. Her lips moved. This time words came out, faint but clear. "My leg. I can't feel my leg." Ryan's stomach clenched. Not feeling it could mean nerve damage, could mean the crash had done serious damage to her spine, or it could just mean shock and the angle she was pinned at. He couldn't tell, and he wasn't about to make it worse by guessing. "The paramedics are coming," he said, and he was surprised by how steady his voice sounded. "They're going to take care of you. What's your name?" She blinked slowly, like the question was coming from very far away. "Alex? Andra. Alex. Alex. Okay, Alex, I'm Ryan. You're doing great, you hear me? You're going to be fine." He didn't know if that was true. He just knew people needed to hear it. Her hand moved, just barely, fingers scrabbling weakly at the deflated airbag, reaching for something. Ryan followed her gaze and saw it. A phone, cracked screen, wedged between the seat and the center console. He worked it free and held it up. "You want me to call someone? Family?" Alex's head moved. Could have been a nod. Could have been just a tremor. "Contact. Michael." Ryan unlocked the phone, no passcode, thank God, and found the contact. Michael Reed. Brother, maybe? Husband? The call went to voicemail. Ryan left a message, quick and factual. "Accident. Highway 14. Ambulance on the way. She's conscious. He'll get the message, Ryan said, setting the phone on the dashboard. Alex's breathing was getting shallower. Not good. Ryan adjusted the jacket around her, trying to keep her warm, and found himself talking just to fill the silence, just to keep her focused. I know this is scary, he said, but you're tough, I can tell. You drive a Lexus, you're probably some big-shot businesswoman, right? Probably got meetings to get to, people depending on you, so you gotta stick around. The faintest hint of a smile touched her lips. Or maybe he imagined it. I've got a daughter, Ryan continued, surprised to hear himself saying it. Emily, she's 9. Yesterday she made me a peanut butter sandwich for lunch and drew a heart on the bag. I've still got the bag in my truck. Kids, right? They don't know how much those little things mean. Alex's eyes stayed on him, anchoring. Good. Keep her engaged. Keep her here. Anyway, Ryan said, Emily would be really mad at me if I let anything happen to you. She's got this thing about people being okay. Ever since her mom. He stopped, shook his head. That's not important right now. Point is, you're going to be fine because I promised, and I don't break promises to my kid. In the distance, finally a siren. Then another. The sound grew louder, Doppler shifting as the ambulance rounded the curve. Ryan felt something in his chest unclench. Hear that? He said. Cavalry's here. The ambulance pulled up in a wash of red and white lights, followed by a sheriff's deputy. Paramedics came down the embankment with a gurney and medical bags, moving with practiced efficiency. Ryan stepped back, giving them room, suddenly aware that his hands were covered in blood. Alex's blood from where he'd checked her head wound. What have we got? One of the paramedics asked, a woman with gray hair tied back and sharp, assessing eyes. Single vehicle, looks like she lost control, Ryan said. Conscious but in shock, head laceration, possible leg injury. She's been pinned about 10-15 minutes. The paramedic nodded, already checking vitals, shining a light in Alex's eyes. Her partner was working on stabilizing Alex's neck with a collar. They moved around each other like dancers who'd practiced this routine 1,000 times. You did good, the first paramedic said to Ryan without looking up. Kept her warm, kept her talking. That matters. Ryan just nodded. He felt suddenly useless, standing there while trained professionals took over. The deputy was asking him questions. What time did he find her? Was anyone else in the vehicle? Did he see what happened? And Ryan answered automatically, his eyes still on Alex. They were lifting her now, carefully extracting her from the wreckage. She cried out when they moved her leg, a sharp sound of pain that cut through the morning air. Ryan flinched. Possible fracture, one of the paramedics called out. Let's get her loaded. They carried her up the embankment to the ambulance. Ryan followed at a distance, feeling like he should do something more, something useful, but not knowing what. As they were sliding the gurney into the ambulance, Alex turned her head. Wait, she said, voice barely audible. The paramedics paused. Alex's eyes found Ryan in the crowd of emergency personnel. Thank you, she said. Just 2 words, but they hit him harder than he expected. Ryan nodded. You're welcome. I don't even know your name, she murmured, words slurring slightly. The shock was deepening, pulling her under. Ryan, he said. Ryan Cooper. Thank you, Ryan Cooper, she whispered, and then her eyes closed and the paramedics were moving again, the ambulance doors slamming shut, the siren wailing to life. Ryan stood on the shoulder of Highway 14 and watched the ambulance disappear around the curve, taking Alex to whatever came next. The deputy was saying something about a statement, about how they might need to follow up, but Ryan barely heard him. He was looking at his hands again, at the blood drying dark under his fingernails, and thinking about how close it had been. 5 minutes later, and she might have bled out. 10 minutes, and hypothermia would have started. He'd just happened to be driving by at exactly the right moment, his mind wandering, paying just enough attention to catch that glint of silver in the ditch. Luck. Chance. Whatever you wanted to call it. The deputy finished his questions and handed Ryan a business card. Ryan tucked it in his pocket and walked back to his truck. The engine was still running, his coffee still sitting in the cup holder, cold now. The radio was playing Tom Petty. Free Fallin'. He turned it off. His hands were shaking again as he pulled back onto the highway. The adrenaline was draining away, leaving him hollow and wired at the same time. He made it another mile before he had to pull over again, his breath coming in sharp gasps, his vision tunneling. Not a panic attack, just aftermath. The crash of coming down from crisis mode. Ryan sat there on the shoulder, breathing slowly, counting to 4 on the inhale and 6 on the exhale, like the grief counselor had taught him after Sarah died. Gradually, the shaking stopped. Gradually, the world came back into focus. He looked at the clock. 7:23 a.m. He was late for work. Ryan sent Pete a text, stopped to help at an accident on my way, and got back on the road. The sun was fully up now, burning off the frost, turning the hills gold. By the time he pulled into Lou's auto service at 7:45, the world looked normal again. Like nothing had happened. Like some woman named Alex wasn't in an emergency room somewhere, doctors working to put her back together. "Cooper," Pete called from the office doorway. He was a broad man in his 60s with oil permanently stained under his nails and reading glasses perpetually perched on his bald head. "You okay? Got your text?" "Yeah," Ryan said, killing the engine. "Yeah, I'm fine. There was a crash on 14, stopped to help. Everyone make it out?" "Think so. Paramedics got there pretty quick." Pete studied him for a moment, those sharp mechanic's eyes taking in the blood on Ryan's shirt, the distant look that probably showed on his face. "You need a minute?" "No," Ryan said, and realized it was true. Working would help. Keeping his hands busy would help. "I'm good. What's first?" "Henderson brakes. Van's in Bay 2. Ryan nodded and grabbed his coveralls from the truck. The fabric was familiar, worn soft from years of use, and sliding into them felt like putting on armor. This he knew. This he could control. Cars didn't surprise you. They broke in predictable ways, and you fixed them with predictable tools, and at the end of the day, they worked or they didn't. Simple. He was elbow deep in the Henderson minivan when his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Ryan almost ignored it, then remembered the deputy's card, the possibility of follow-up questions. He wiped his hands on a rag and answered. "Mr. Cooper, this is Ashford General Hospital. You were listed as an emergency contact for a patient brought in this morning?" Ryan frowned. "I think there's been a mistake. I was just the one who found her. She doesn't have any family locally, and she specifically asked us to contact you. She wanted to make sure you knew she was all right." Something warm and unexpected bloomed in Ryan's chest. "She's okay?" "Stable. Broken tibia, concussion, lots of cuts and bruises, but she's going to be fine. Thanks in large part to you, from what the paramedics said." Ryan stopped. "I'm glad she's okay. Would you like the room number? She's been asking if you'd visit." Ryan looked around the garage. Pete was in the office. Marcus was working on an alignment. Carlos was buried under a Dodge Ram. A normal Tuesday. Except it wasn't, was it? Because somewhere across town a woman named Alex was lying in a hospital bed, and for some reason she'd asked for him. "Yeah," Ryan heard himself say. "Yeah, I'll stop by after work." He took down the room number and hung up, staring at his phone like it might explain what had just happened. It didn't. "Henderson brakes," he muttered to himself. "Focus on the Henderson brakes." But for the rest of the day, part of his mind was somewhere else. Chingas. The hospital visiting hours started at 4. Ryan left the garage at 4:15 after finishing the brake job and the oil changes and signing off on the inventory Pete needed for the corporate meeting next week. He still had transmission fluid under his nails despite scrubbing his hands 3 times. Ashford General was a squat brick building on the east side of town, expanded twice since Ryan was born here 36 years ago. He'd been here the night Emily was born, full of terror and joy. He'd been here when Sarah got her diagnosis, and later when she'd come home for hospice care because she'd wanted to die in their bedroom, surrounded by family photos and her garden visible through the window. Ryan shook off the memories and parked in the visitor lot. Inside smelled like disinfectant and cafeteria food. He checked in at the desk, got a visitor badge, and took the elevator to the 3rd floor. Room 312 was at the end of the corridor. The door was half open. Ryan knocked gently. "Come in," a voice called. Stronger than this morning, but still rough. Ryan pushed the door open. Alex was propped up in bed, her left leg in a cast and elevated, her head wrapped in gauze. The bruising had started to show, dark purple along her jaw, yellow-green around her eyes. She looked small against the white sheets, fragile in a way she hadn't even in the wreck. But her eyes were clear. And when she saw him, She smiled. Ryan Cooper, she said. You came. Heard you were asking for me, Ryan said, suddenly awkward. He'd spent the drive over rehearsing what to say, and now every word had evaporated. Wanted to make sure you were okay. Thanks to you, Alex gestured at the chair beside the bed. Please, sit. I'd stand, but... She glanced at her leg ruefully. Ryan sat, perching on the edge of the chair. Broken? Broken tibia, hairline fracture, and my fibula. 6 weeks minimum. They're talking about surgery tomorrow to put in a plate. She said it matter-of-factly, like reporting on weather. Could have been worse. Could have been a lot worse, Ryan agreed. They sat in silence for a moment. Outside the window, the sun was starting its descent toward the hills, painting everything in shades of amber. I don't remember much, Alex finally said. Black ice, I think. I saw it too late, tried to correct, and then... She made a vague gesture. Then you were there. Right place, right time. No. Alex's voice was firm. Right person. The paramedics told me you kept me from going into shock, that you knew exactly what to do. Ryan shrugged. Basic first aid. Anyone would have, but they didn't. You did. She held his gaze. I want to say thank you properly, but I don't think those words are big enough. They're plenty big, Ryan said quietly. You don't owe me anything. I disagree. Another silence. This one felt different, heavier, weighted with something Ryan couldn't quite name. So what do you do, Ryan Cooper? Alex asked, changing the subject. When you're not saving people on Highway 14? I'm a mechanic, work at Lou's Auto Service in town. Lou's? Alex's brow furrowed. That's the place on Cedar Avenue? That's the one. I know that shop. Something flickered across her face, there and gone too quick to read. How long have you worked there? 12 years, since I got back from community college. You like it? Ryan considered the question. It's honest work. Good people. Pete, actually, Lou was his dad. He's fair, pays decent. Could be worse. Could be better? Ryan met her eyes. Could always be better. Alex smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. Spoken like someone who's thought about it. Maybe. Ryan shifted in the chair. What about you? What do you do? Corporate management. I work for a company that owns automotive service chains across the Pacific Northwest. The words landed like stones. Ryan's mind made the connection half a second before Alex continued. I'm actually in Ashford for work, she said. Just got transferred here to oversee regional operations. I was on my way to meet with one of our locations this morning when she gestured at herself ruefully. This happened. Which location? Ryan asked, but he already knew. Already felt it settling into his stomach like cold weight. Lou's Auto Service, Alex said. I'm the new regional manager. Ryan sat very still. Small world, he finally managed. Impossibly small, Alex agreed. She was watching him carefully now, probably trying to gauge his reaction. Does that change things? Changes what? This. You being here. Me thanking you. Ryan thought about it. About Pete's hints regarding the promotion. About corporate oversight and efficiency reports. About the fact that the woman whose life he'd saved this morning was about to become his boss. No, he said finally. You needed help. I helped. That doesn't change. Alex's smile widened, genuine and warm. Good answer. They talked for another 20 minutes. Carefully neutral topics. Ashford, the weather, how the Seahawks were doing this season. Alex mentioned she was originally from Seattle, had been working in Portland before the transfer. No family in the area, which explained why the hospital had called him. She'd filed for divorce 6 months ago, was starting over in a town where she knew no one. Ryan told her about Emily, about raising a daughter alone, about the juggling act of work and school, and trying to be present when exhaustion was a constant companion. Alex listened the way people rarely did, fully, completely, like his words actually mattered. When visiting hours ended, Ryan stood to leave. I should let you rest. Ryan, Alex said as he reached the door. He turned back. I meant what I said, thank you, for everything. Get better, Ryan said. That's thanks enough. He drove home through the gathering dusk, his mind churning. The new regional manager. Of all the people in all the towns, it had to be her. The universe had a strange sense of humor. Emily was at the kitchen table doing homework when he walked in, Mrs. Chen sitting nearby with a cup of tea. "Dad!" Emily jumped up and hugged him. "Mrs. Chen said you helped someone who got hurt." "News travels fast," Ryan said, shooting Mrs. Chen a grateful look. "Small town," she said with a smile. "Emily and I made lasagna. It's in the oven." After Mrs. Chen left, Ryan and Emily ate dinner together, and he told her a carefully edited version of the morning, leaving out the blood and the fear and the way Alex had looked so small in that hospital bed. "Is she going to be okay?" Emily asked. "Yeah, sweetheart. She's going to be fine." "Good." Emily stabbed her fork into her lasagna with satisfaction. "You're a hero, Dad." "I'm not a hero. I just did what anyone should do." "That's what makes you a hero," Emily said, with the absolute certainty of a 9-year-old. Ryan ruffled her hair and didn't argue. That night, after Emily was asleep, Ryan sat on the back porch with a beer he barely touched. The stars were out, cold and distant, and somewhere across town, Alex was lying in a hospital bed, her leg in a cast, her life temporarily derailed. And in a few days, when she was released, she'd walk into Lou's Auto Service as the new boss. They'd have to pretend to be professional, pretend this morning hadn't happened, pretend they didn't know each other in the strange, intense way that came from shared crisis. Ryan finished his beer and went inside. Tomorrow would come whether he was ready or not. It always did. But as he lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, he couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted, that Highway 14 hadn't just been an accident scene. It had been the start of something else entirely. The next morning, Ryan woke to rain hammering against the windows, the kind of November downpour that turned the streets into rivers and made every commute miserable. He lay there for a moment, listening to Emily's alarm go off down the hall, listening to her groan and shuffle to the bathroom, and he thought about calling in sick. Just one day to process everything, to figure out how he was supposed to walk into that garage and act normal when nothing felt normal anymore. But the Bills didn't care about his feelings, and Emily needed breakfast, and Pete was counting on him for the Wallace transmission job. So Ryan dragged himself out of bed, made coffee, and went through the motions of being a functional adult. "You okay, Dad?" Emily asked over her cereal, studying him with those sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Just tired, sweetheart." "You look weird." "Thanks. You look weird too." She giggled and threw a Cheerio at him. Normal. They could do normal. The drive to work was slower than usual, traffic crawling through the rain, windshield wipers working overtime. Ryan's mind kept drifting back to the hospital room, to Alex's face when she'd said she was the new regional manager. The coincidence of it still felt surreal, like something out of a bad romantic comedy. Except this wasn't a movie. This was his life, his job, his carefully maintained stability, all potentially hanging in the balance. Lou's Auto Service looked gray and miserable in the rain, puddles forming in the parking lot, water dripping from the gutters. Ryan parked and made a run for it, his jacket soaked by the time he reached the bay doors. "Miserable out there?" Marcus called from where he was working on a brake job. He was in his early 20s, fresh out of tech school, still learning but eager. "Good kid." "Miserable in here too if we don't get that transmission done," Ryan said, shrugging out of his wet jacket. "Wallace is already calling Pete twice a day." "Old man needs to learn patience," Carlos muttered from under the ram. He'd been with the shop almost as long as Ryan, a quiet guy who did excellent work and never caused drama. Pete emerged from the office, coffee in hand, reading glasses sliding down his nose. "Cooper, got a minute?" Ryan followed him into the small cluttered office that smelled like coffee and old paper. Pete shut the door, which immediately made Ryan's stomach tighten. Closed-door conversations were never good news. "You all right?" Pete asked, settling into his desk chair. "After yesterday?" "Yeah, I'm fine, just doing what anyone would do." "Well, anyone didn't, you did." Pete took a sip of coffee. "Heard from the hospital. Woman's going to be okay thanks to you." "That's good?" "That's real good." Pete set down his mug and fixed Ryan with a look. "Because that woman is Alexandra Reed, our new regional manager." So Pete knew. Of course he knew. In a town this size, information traveled faster than the rain. Yeah, Ryan said. She mentioned that when I visited her yesterday. Pete's eyebrows went up. You visited? She asked the hospital to call me. Wanted to say thank you. Huh. Pete leaned back, his chair creaking. Well, that's interesting. It's not anything, Pete. Wrong place, wrong time, or right place, right time, depending on how you look at it. I'm looking at it like maybe you just made a hell of an impression on the person who's about to decide our fates. Pete held up a hand before Ryan could protest. I'm not saying use it. I'm saying don't be an idiot about it either. Corporate's been circling us for months, talking about restructuring and efficiency metrics and all that nonsense. Having someone in charge who knows you're a good man, that's not nothing. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. I didn't help her to get an advantage. I know that, but you did help her, and now there's a relationship there, whether you like it or not. All I'm saying is be professional, be yourself, and don't overthink it. Pete smiled. Though I know you will, because that's what you do. When's she supposed to start? Originally next Monday, but with the leg and everything, headquarters is giving her 2 weeks to recover. So we've got a grace period. Pete shuffled some papers on his desk. In the meantime, keep doing what you do. That transmission job, the inventory audit I need for the corporate reports, training Marcus on the diagnostic equipment. Show him we run a tight ship. Ryan nodded and headed back to the garage floor, Pete's words echoing in his head. Don't overthink it. Easy to say, impossible to do. The transmission job took most of the day. It was a stubborn bastard. One of those repairs where everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Bolts stripped, parts that were supposed to fit didn't. The diagnostic computer kept throwing error codes that made no sense. By 3 in the afternoon, Ryan was covered in grease and frustration, his back aching from being bent over the engine bay. This thing cursed? Marcus asked, peering over Ryan's shoulder. Feels like it. Ryan straightened, wiping his forehead with the back of his hand. But we're close. I can feel it. You always say that. And I'm always right. Marcus grinned. Eventually. They finally got the transmission sealed and installed by 4:30, just as the rain was starting to let up. Ryan ran it through the diagnostics 3 times to be sure, then took it for a test drive around the block. Smooth. Perfect. The kind of repair that reminded him why he loved this work, taking something broken and making it whole again. When he got back, Pete was waiting with a rare smile. Wallace just called, said he's coming by tomorrow to pick it up. Nice work, Cooper. Team effort, Ryan said, nodding to Marcus. Still, good job. Pete hesitated. You heading out? Yeah, gotta get Emily from after school. Give her my best. Tell her the drawing she made me is on my office wall. Ryan smiled despite his exhaustion. Emily had drawn Pete a picture of a car with wings last month, labeled Pete's Dream Machine. Pete had indeed framed it and hung it right next to his business license. The elementary school parking lot was chaos as usual, a swarm of parents and buses and crossing guards trying to maintain order. Ryan found his usual spot and waited, watching kids stream out of the building in their bright raincoats and backpacks. Emily emerged in a cluster of friends, laughing about something, her hair escaping from her ponytail. She spotted the truck and waved, said goodbye to her friends, and ran over. Dad, guess what? What? We're doing a talent show next month, and I want to sign up for piano, but we don't have a piano, and Mrs. Martinez said I could use the one in the music room to practice if I stay after school 2 days a week, and I really, really want to do it. Can I please? The words tumbled out in one breathless rush. Ryan's heart squeezed. Piano lessons had been on the someday list for 2 years now, always getting pushed back by more urgent expenses. Yeah, sweetheart, you can do it. Really? Emily's face lit up like Christmas morning. Really? We'll figure it out. She hugged him hard enough to squeeze the air from his lungs, and Ryan held on, breathing in her kid shampoo smell, thinking about Pete's words about the promotion, about what more money could mean. That night after dinner, after homework and the ongoing negotiations about bedtime, Ryan sat down with his laptop and the stack of bills he'd been avoiding. Rent, utilities, car insurance, Emily's school fees, groceries, the credit card he was slowly chipping away at from Sarah's medical expenses. He made a spreadsheet, something he did once a month to maintain the illusion of control, and watched the numbers refuse to balance the way they never quite did. A promotion would change everything. A supervisor position meant maybe 15,000 more a year. That was piano lessons, new shoes when Emily needed them, fixing the furnace before winter really hit. That was maybe starting to save for college instead of just hoping for scholarships. That was breathing room. But it also meant depending on Alex Reed's good opinion, and that felt wrong somehow. Like he was using what had happened on Highway 14 for personal gain, even though Pete was right that he couldn't just ignore the connection either. Ryan closed the laptop and rubbed his eyes, overthinking, just like Pete said. His phone buzzed. Unknown number, but he recognized the hospital exchange. "Mr. Cooper, this is Alexandra Reed. I hope I'm not calling too late." Ryan glanced at the clock. 8:15. "No, it's fine. How are you feeling?" "Like I was hit by a truck, ironically." She laughed softly. "They're doing the surgery tomorrow morning. I wanted to thank you again before I go under, just in case." "It's routine surgery," Ryan said. "You'll be fine. Logically, I know that. But logic doesn't always override anxiety." A pause. "I don't really have anyone else to call. My brother's in Japan for work, my parents are in Florida, and I told them not to fly out. And my ex-husband—" She trailed off. "Well, that's not an option." Ryan heard the loneliness in her voice, the fear she was trying to hide with humor, and something in his chest tightened. "You want me to be there? Tomorrow?" "God, no. You've done enough. I just needed to hear a friendly voice." Another pause. "Is that weird? We barely know each other." "It's not weird," Ryan said, and meant it. Crisis created intimacy. Artificial, maybe, but real in the moment. They'd shared something on Highway 14 that couldn't be easily dismissed. "You're going to do great tomorrow. And when you're recovered, you're going to walk into that garage and scare the hell out of all of us with your corporate efficiency reports." Alex laughed, a real one this time. "Is that my reputation?" "That's every regional manager's reputation." "Fair enough," she sighed. "I should let you go. Thank you, Ryan, for everything." "Anytime." After she hung up, Ryan sat there holding his phone, staring at Emily's crayon drawing on the refrigerator. A picture of the two of them holding hands under a rainbow. Simple, clear, uncomplicated. Nothing about his life felt that way anymore. The next day dragged. Ryan kept checking his phone, which was stupid because Alex wouldn't call him from surgery. Wouldn't call him after because she'd be drugged up and recovering, and why would she call him anyway? But he checked anyway between jobs, during lunch, every time he had a free moment. "You waiting on something?" Carlos asked, catching him for the third time that afternoon. "No, maybe. I don't know." Carlos raised an eyebrow but didn't push. That was one of the things Ryan appreciated about him. He knew when to leave things alone. The call came at 4:30, right as Ryan was cleaning up for the day. Ashford General again, but a different voice this time. "Mr. Cooper? Ms. Reed asked me to call you. The surgery went well? No complications? She's in recovery and wanted you to know." Relief flooded through him, unexpected in its intensity. "That's great. Thank you." She also asked if you could stop by tomorrow. Visiting hours are 10 to 8. "Yeah," Ryan said. "Yeah, I'll be there." He went that evening instead, telling himself it was just to check in, just to make sure she was really okay. The hospital was quieter at night, the fluorescent lights harsh against the darkness outside. Alex's room was dim when he arrived, just the glow from the monitors and the parking lot lights filtering through the window. She was awake, groggy but alert, her leg now in a more substantial cast with metal pins visible near her ankle. "You came," she said, her words slightly slurred from the painkillers. "Figured you could use the company." Ryan settled into the chair. "How are you feeling?" "Like they took my leg apart and put it back together with hardware store parts. But the surgeon says it went perfectly, so..." She smiled loopily. "Drugs are good, though. Very good drugs." Ryan couldn't help but smile back. "I bet." "Tell me something," Alex said, her eyes half closed. "Tell me something real. Everything here is too white, too clean. I need something real." Ryan thought about it. "Emily learned to tie her shoes last week. She's been practicing on every shoe in the house, including mine while I'm wearing them. This morning she tied my laces together and I almost fell flat on my face." Alex laughed, the sound bubbling up unexpected and genuine. "That's perfect. She sounds wonderful. She is. She's everything. Ryan leaned back in the chair. After Sarah died, I didn't know how to keep going, but Emily needed me to, so I did. Kids have a way of making you braver than you actually are. I always wanted kids, Alex said quietly. But Michael didn't. That was one of many things we couldn't agree on. She turned her head to look at Ryan. Does it get easier, the grief? It gets different. You learn to carry it instead of it carrying you. Ryan met her eyes. But yeah, it gets easier. Not gone, but easier. They sat in comfortable silence, the monitors beeping softly, the hospital settling into its night rhythms. Alex's eyes were closing, the drugs pulling her under. Ryan? She murmured. Yeah? I'm glad it was you on the highway. I'm glad it was you who stopped. Me too, Ryan said softly. He stayed until she fell asleep, then quietly let himself out. The night air was cold and clean after the hospital smell, and Ryan stood in the parking lot for a moment, looking up at the stars barely visible through the light pollution. His phone buzzed. Pete. Corporate pushed the audit up. Need those inventory reports by Friday. Ryan texted back a thumbs up and drove home, his mind already shifting to work mode. The next few days blurred together, inventory counts, diagnostic work, training Marcus on the new alignment system, dealing with Mrs. Henderson's concerns about a squeaking noise that turned out to be a plastic bag stuck to her undercarriage. Normal work, normal problems, normal life. Except he kept thinking about Alex in that hospital room, about the way she'd said she was glad it was him. Friday afternoon, Pete called everyone together in the garage. All right, listen up. Corporate wants a video conference Monday morning. They're introducing the new regional structure, and I want us looking sharp. Clean bays, organized tools, professional appearance. Got it? Ms. Reed gonna be on the call? Marcus asked. Probably from home. She's not cleared to come in yet. Pete looked at Ryan. Cooper, you're my second in command on this. Make sure everything's ready. Ryan nodded, ignoring the looks from Carlos and Marcus. They knew something was up, had probably heard the gossip about the accident by now. Small town, big ears. The weekend was a flurry of cleaning and organizing. Ryan came in Saturday morning and spent 6 hours making the garage look like something out of a trade magazine. Marcus and Carlos showed up to help, and by late afternoon the place gleamed. Think corporate will notice? Marcus asked, surveying their work. Corporate notices everything, Ryan said. That's their job. Sunday he took Emily to the park, pushed her on the swings, helped her across the monkey bars. Normal dad stuff, good stuff. The kind of day that reminded him what he was working for. On the way home, Emily chattered about the talent show, about the piano piece she wanted to learn, about her friend Jessica's birthday party next month. Dad? She said as they pulled into their driveway. Yeah, sweetheart? Are we okay? Money-wise? Ryan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. What makes you ask that? I heard you on the phone with the credit card people. You sounded stressed. 9 years old and already carrying worries she shouldn't have to carry. Ryan turned to face her. We're okay. Things are tight sometimes, but we're okay, and you don't need to worry about that stuff. That's my job. But if I'm making it harder, Emily. Ryan waited until she looked at him. You make everything better. Everything. Don't ever think otherwise. She hugged him hard, and Ryan held on, wishing he could protect her from every worry, every fear, every hard truth about money and responsibility, and the way life sometimes squeezed you from all sides. That night he couldn't sleep. He lay in bed thinking about Monday, about the video call, about seeing Alex again, even if it was just on a screen, about what Pete had said regarding impressions and opportunities, and not being an idiot about it. At 2 a.m, he gave up and went to the kitchen, made tea he didn't want, and sat at the table with his laptop. On impulse, he Googled Alexandra Reed. The search returned a LinkedIn profile, some corporate announcements, a few photos from industry conferences. She looked different in the professional shots, polished, confident, intimidating in a power suit kind of way. Nothing like the frightened woman trapped in a wrecked SUV. Nothing like the groggy patient making jokes about hardware store parts. Ryan closed the laptop, feeling like he'd been snooping, even though it was all public information. Monday morning arrived cold and clear, the kind of November day that promised winter was coming whether you were ready or not. Ryan got to the garage early, checked everything twice, made sure his coveralls were clean, and his hands scrubbed free of grease. The video call was set for 9 o'clock in Pete's office, which meant cramming 5 guys into a space meant for 2. "This is ridiculous," Carlos muttered as they squeezed around Pete's desk, the laptop positioned so the camera could catch everyone. "This is corporate," Pete corrected. "Everyone smile and look competent." At exactly 9, the call connected. The screen filled with a conference room somewhere, white walls and glass tables, several people in suits that probably cost more than Ryan's truck. And there, in the corner, connected remotely, was Alex. She looked composed despite the visible cast on her leg and the faint bruising still showing under professional makeup. Her hair was pulled back and she wore a dark blazer that said, "All business." But when her eyes found Ryan in the crowded frame, something in her expression softened. "Good morning, everyone," said a man in the center of the conference room. Gray hair, expensive watch, the kind of voice that was used to being obeyed. "I'm Richard Torres, VP of Regional Operations. Thank you all for joining us. As you know, we're restructuring our management approach to better serve our locations and ensure consistent quality across all our properties." Ryan half listened to the corporate speak, the talk of synergies and metrics and optimization. His attention kept drifting to Alex, watching her nod at appropriate moments, watching her take notes, watching her be the professional he'd never seen. "Alexandra Reed will be overseeing 6 locations in this region," Torres continued. "She comes to us with 15 years of experience in operational management and a proven track record of improving both performance and employee satisfaction." He glanced at Alex on the screen. "Alexandra, would you like to say a few words?" Alex unmuted herself. "Thank you, Richard. I know change can be unsettling, but I want to assure everyone that my goal isn't to come in and tear things apart. I want to learn from you, understand what makes each location successful, and help you build on those strengths. Lou's Auto Service has an excellent reputation in Ashford, and I'm looking forward to working with Pete and his team to maintain that standard. Professional, diplomatic, exactly what she should say. I also want to acknowledge," Alex continued, her eyes finding Ryan again, "that I've already had the opportunity to see the quality of character in this team. Pete, you've built something special here, and I'm excited to be part of it." The call continued for another 20 minutes, schedules, reporting structures, upcoming visits. When it finally ended, everyone in the cramped office let out a collective breath. "Well," Pete said, "that wasn't so bad." "She seems decent," Carlos offered, "for a corporate type." "Yeah," Marcus agreed. "Not what I expected." Ryan said nothing, just excused himself and went back to work. He had an oil change scheduled and then Mrs. Patterson's ancient Buick that needed a full diagnostic. Normal work, good work. His phone buzzed around 11, a text from an unknown number that wasn't unknown anymore. "You looked uncomfortable on that call." "I promise I don't bite." Ryan stared at the message, then typed back. "Just not used to video conferences. We usually communicate through grunts and hand signals." 3 dots appeared, then, "I'll keep that in mind. Seriously though, thank you for being professional. I know this is weird. It's not weird. You're the boss. I'm an employee." Pretty straightforward. Is it though? Ryan didn't know how to answer that, so he didn't. He pocketed his phone and got back to work. But the text sat in his mind like a question mark, undefined and waiting. The week progressed. Normal work, normal routines. Emily's piano practice in the music room twice a week meant Ryan picking her up later, which meant rearranging his schedule, which meant staying late to finish jobs. Pete noticed and said nothing, just nodded approval when Ryan stayed to help Marcus with a complicated electrical problem. Thursday afternoon, his phone rang. Alex calling from her home number this time. "Ryan? Sorry to bother you at work." "It's fine, what's up?" "I have a favor to ask, and feel free to say no. The doctors are clearing me to work from the office starting Monday, but I'm not cleared to drive yet. I was going to use a car service, but..." She hesitated. "Would you be willing to give me a ride just for the first few days until I figure out a better solution? I'll pay you for gas and time." Ryan's first instinct was to say no. Too complicated, too much boundary crossing. But then he thought about Alex alone in a new town, no family nearby, trying to navigate recovery and a new job simultaneously. "You don't need to pay me," he heard himself say. "I drive right past your place on the way to work anyway." What's your address? She gave it. A condo complex on the north side, the newer development near the lake. You're sure? It's not a big deal. It is to me. Thank you, Ryan. After they hung up, Ryan stood there in the garage wondering what he'd just agreed to. Carlos wandered over, wiping his hands on a rag. Everything okay? Yeah, I think so. Ryan paused. You ever feel like your life is changing, but you can't tell if it's in a good way or a bad way? Carlos considered this. Every day, man. Every single day. You just gotta trust your gut and hope for the best. Simple advice. Probably good advice. Ryan went home that night and told Emily he'd be picking someone up for work the next week. The new manager at the garage. She was in a car accident and can't drive yet. Is she the lady you helped? Emily asked, looking up from her homework. Yeah. Is she nice? I think so, yeah. Emily studied him with those two perceptive eyes. You like her? I barely know her, sweetheart. But you like her, Emily insisted with the certainty of a child who saw things adults tried to hide. Ryan ruffled her hair and didn't answer, because what could he say? That he did like Alex in some complicated way he couldn't define? That she'd walked into his carefully controlled life and scattered it like leaves? That he thought about her more than he should and didn't know what to do about it? Monday morning came too fast. Ryan got up early, made sure the truck was clean, or at least cleaner than usual, and drove to Alex's condo complex. It was one of those modern places with clean lines and big windows, probably cost 3 times what Ryan paid in rent. Alex was waiting outside on crutches, wearing dark pants and a cream-colored sweater, her hair down around her shoulders. She looked young like this, vulnerable, and nothing like the corporate executive from the video call. Right on time, she said as Ryan jumped out to help her. Military dad. Punctuality was beaten into me early. He opened the passenger door and offered his arm. Careful. She maneuvered in with some difficulty, the crutches awkward, the cast unwieldy. Ryan stored the crutches in the back and came around to the driver's side. This is nice of you, Alex said as he pulled out of the parking lot. It's 15 minutes out of my way. Not exactly a sacrifice. Ryan glanced at her. How's the leg? Itchy, annoying, but healing. She smiled. Better than the alternative. They drove in silence for a bit, comfortable rather than awkward. The morning was gray again, clouds hanging low, threatening rain. The radio played softly, something old and familiar that neither of them really listened to. Can I ask you something? Alex said as they neared downtown. Sure. Why did you stop? On Highway 14. Most people would have just called 911 and kept going. Ryan thought about it. My wife, my late wife, Sarah, she used to say that the world is exactly as kind as we make it, that every choice either adds to the good or takes from it. I guess I try to add when I can. That's beautiful, Alex said softly. Tell me about her, if you don't mind. And somehow Ryan found himself talking about Sarah, how they'd met in high school, how she'd been the brave one while he'd been too shy to ask her out for 6 months, how she'd loved gardening and could never keep a plant alive but kept trying anyway, how she'd fought the cancer with everything she had, not for herself but for Emily, desperate to see her daughter grow up. She sounds incredible, Alex said when he finished. She was. Ryan pulled into the garage parking lot and killed the engine. But she's gone, and life keeps going, and you figure out how to carry it. Alex touched his arm briefly. Thank you for sharing that. They sat there for a moment, the truck ticking as it cooled, the weight of the conversation settling between them. Then Pete was tapping on the window, grinning broadly, and the moment broke. Well, well, Pete said as Ryan helped Alex out. Look who's mobile, see? Barely, Alex laughed, adjusting her crutches. But I'm here, ready to become everyone's least favorite person with my efficiency reports and corporate mandates. You're not so bad, Pete said. Come on, I'll give you the grand tour. Ryan watched them head into the garage, Pete gesturing animatedly, Alex navigating the oil-stained floor with careful steps. Then he grabbed his coveralls and got to work, trying not to think about the way her hand had felt on his arm, brief and warm, and somehow significant. The day unfolded normally after that. Alex set up in Pete's office. Pete insisted, said he'd work at the front desk for the week, and spent the morning on phone calls and laptop work. Ryan caught glimpses of her through the office window, professional and focused, completely in her element. At lunch, Marcus nudged him. So that's the infamous Ms. Reed. That's her. She's pretty. She's the boss, Ryan said firmly. Can't she be both? Ryan gave him a look, and Marcus held up his hands in surrender. Just saying, man. Just saying. The afternoon brought a complication. Mr. Wallace came to pick up his Chevy and immediately started complaining about the bill. Ryan was in the middle of explaining the breakdown when Pete and Alex emerged from the office. Is there a problem? Alex asked, her tone professional but warm. This bill is ridiculous, Wallace blustered. He was a big man in his 70s, used to getting his way through sheer volume. $400 for a transmission? That's highway robbery. Actually, sir, Ryan said evenly, transmission work typically runs between $600 and $1,000. We gave you a significant discount because several of the parts were still under warranty. I don't believe that for a second, Mr. Wallace. Alex's voice cut through his bluster, calm but authoritative. I've reviewed the invoice personally. Not only is the price fair, but the work was completed ahead of schedule and to an exceptional standard. You're welcome to get a second opinion, but I suspect you'll find we've treated you more than fairly. Wallace sputtered, but something in Alex's demeanor shut him down. He paid the bill and left, still muttering but defeated. Thanks, Ryan said after Wallace drove off. That's what I'm here for. Well, that and making everyone's life miserable with paperwork. Alex smiled. But seriously, you handled that well. Patient, professional. That's not easy with someone like Wallace. Ryan shrugged. Comes with the territory. The rest of the week followed a similar pattern. Ryan picked Alex up each morning. They talked about small things, Emily's piano progress, Alex's physical therapy, the weather, and then went their separate ways at the garage. Professional, appropriate. Exactly how it should be. Except Friday afternoon, as Ryan was driving her home, Alex said, Can I buy you dinner to thank you for the rides? You don't need to do that. I know, but I'd like to. There's a good Italian place near my condo. We could grab takeout, eat on my patio. Nothing fancy. Ryan should have said no, should have maintained the boundaries, should have remembered that she was his boss and he was her employee, and mixing those things was asking for complications. Okay, he said instead. But I need to pick up Emily first. Can't leave her home alone. Bring her, Alex said immediately. I'd love to meet her. And that was how Ryan found himself an hour later, sitting on Alex's condo patio with his daughter and his boss, eating excellent lasagna and watching Emily charm the socks off a woman who was supposed to be intimidating but somehow wasn't. So you're learning piano? Alex asked Emily, genuinely interested. Yeah, I'm doing Fior Elise for the talent show. It's really hard, but Mrs. Martinez says I'm getting better. Emily took a big bite of garlic bread. Do you play anything? Violin. Used to, anyway. Haven't touched one in years. You should start again, Emily said with the confidence of someone who'd never encountered a problem she couldn't solve. Dad always says it's never too late to do what you love. Alex glanced at Ryan. Does he now? Ryan felt his face warm. I might have said something like that once or twice. They ate and talked as the sun set over the lake, painting the water gold and pink. Emily chattered about school and friends and her ongoing campaign to get a dog. Alex listened and laughed and told stories about growing up in Seattle, about the violin lessons her parents had insisted on, about the corporate career she'd built almost by accident. I wanted to be a teacher, she admitted, but life takes you where it takes you. It's never too late, Emily said, echoing Ryan's words back with perfect timing. Alex's smile was soft and sad and hopeful all at once. Maybe you're right. When it was time to go, Emily hugged Alex goodbye like they'd been friends forever. Thank you for dinner. You should come over to our house next time. Emily, Ryan started, but Alex cut him off. I'd like that very much. They drove home through the gathering dark, Emily already half asleep in the passenger seat. Ryan's mind was a jumble of thoughts he couldn't organize, about boundaries and bosses, and the way Alex had looked at him across the patio table, something in her eyes that might have been longing, or might have been loneliness, or might have been something else entirely. I like her, Dad, Emily murmured, nearly asleep. She's nice. Yeah, Ryan said softly. She is. And that, he realized, as he carried his sleeping daughter inside, was exactly the problem. The problem grew worse over the following weeks, spreading through Ryan's carefully ordered life like cracks through ice. Every morning he picked Alex up, and every morning they talked a little more freely, the boundaries between boss and employee blurring in ways that should have worried him, but somehow didn't. She asked about Emily's piano progress, and he asked about her physical therapy. She told him about her divorce, how Michael had wanted a corporate wife who entertained clients and didn't ask questions, and Ryan told her about the lonely months after Sarah died when he'd barely functioned, going through motions for Emily's sake. They were becoming friends, Ryan realized one morning as he pulled up to her condo and found himself smiling before she even emerged. Real friends, the kind where silence was comfortable and conversations picked up mid-thought like no time had passed. It was dangerous territory, but he couldn't seem to stop crossing into it. At the garage, Alex was proving herself in ways that surprised everyone. She didn't just sit in the office reviewing numbers and sending mandates from on high. She asked questions, real ones, about how things worked and why they were done certain ways. She spent time on the garage floor watching the mechanics work, taking notes, listening more than she talked. When Marcus struggled with a particularly difficult diagnostic on a newer model BMW, Alex rolled up her sleeves, metaphorically, given the cast, and helped him research the problem online, finding a technical bulletin that solved it in minutes. "She's not what I expected," Carlos admitted to Ryan one afternoon. They were working side by side on an alignment, the kind of routine job that let your mind wander. Corporate types usually come in acting like they know everything. She asks first. "She's smart," Ryan said, checking the measurements. "Knows what she doesn't know." "You two seem pretty friendly." Ryan glanced up sharply. "She's the boss." "I didn't say otherwise, just making an observation." Carlos grinned. "Relax, man. Nobody thinks anything bad about it. If anything, people are wondering when you're going to ask her out." We're not, Ryan fumbled the words. "It's not like that." "If you say so." Carlos didn't sound convinced. The truth was, Ryan didn't know what it was like. He knew Alex was beautiful, smart, funny, in a dry way that caught him off guard. He knew he looked forward to their morning drives more than he should. He knew that when she laughed at something he said, his chest did this stupid, warm thing that felt dangerously close to high school crush territory. But she was his boss, and he was a single dad with responsibilities, and there were 1,000 reasons why anything beyond friendship was a terrible idea. He was thinking about all this the following Monday when Alex called him at lunch, her voice tight with frustration. "Ryan, I need a favor. My physical therapist just canceled, and I can't reschedule until Thursday, but my leg is killing me. Do you know anyone who does massage therapy? The muscles around the cast are so tense I can barely sleep." Ryan thought about it. "My neighbor Mrs. Chen used to do physical therapy before she retired. She still helps people sometimes. Want me to ask her? Would you? I'll pay her whatever she wants." Mrs. Chen agreed immediately when Ryan knocked on her door that evening. "Of course I help. Poor girl, all alone with broken leg. You bring her tomorrow, I take care of her." So Tuesday afternoon found Ryan driving Alex to Mrs. Chen's house instead of back to her condo, Emily in tow because there was no after-school piano that day. Mrs. Chen opened the door in her usual colorful tunic, her face lighting up when she saw them. "You must be Alexandra. Come, come. I have everything ready." Alex maneuvered inside on her crutches, and Mrs. Chen immediately took charge with the kind of gentle authority that allowed no argument. "You sit here, Ryan, you stay. Have tea with Emily. This take maybe hour." Ryan and Emily settled in Mrs. Chen's cozy living room, surrounded by family photos and the smell of jasmine tea. Emily pulled out her homework, and Ryan helped her with math problems, half his attention on the murmur of voices from the other room where Mrs. Chen was working on Alex's leg. "Dad?" Emily said, not looking up from her division problems. "Yeah, sweetheart." "Do you like Ms. Reed?" Ryan's pencil stopped mid-motion. "She's a nice person." "That's not what I asked." Emily looked up at him with those eyes that saw everything. "Do you like her like you liked Mom?" The question hit him harder than it should have. "No one's like Mom, Em." "I know that. But do you like her anyway?" Ryan set down the pencil and pulled Emily close. "I don't know. Maybe. Is that okay?" Emily was quiet for a moment, thinking. "Mom would want you to be happy." She told me that before. She said if anything happened to her, you needed to promise to be happy again. She said that to you? The night before she went to the hospital the last time. She made me promise to take care of you, and she said you needed to promise to be happy. Emily looked up at him. So if Ms. Reed makes you happy, that's good. That's what Mom wanted. Ryan held his daughter tight, his throat aching, thinking about Sarah planning for her own absence, trying to take care of them even after she was gone. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just noticed now. When Alex emerged an hour later, she looked more relaxed than Ryan had seen her in weeks. Mrs. Chen followed, looking satisfied. You come back Thursday, yes? We work on this more, get you moving better. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Alex tried to hand Mrs. Chen money, but the older woman waved it away. No. Ryan's family. You, Ryan's friend. That make you family too. No money for family. Alex's eyes got suspiciously bright. That's incredibly kind. Not kind, just right. Mrs. Chen patted her arm. You come for dinner Sunday, yes? I make my special dumplings. Bring everyone. And somehow that became a thing. Sunday dinners at Mrs. Chen's, all of them crammed around her small table, eating incredible food and talking about everything and nothing. Mrs. Chen's daughter and grandchildren sometimes joined, turning it into a loud, chaotic, wonderful mess that made Alex laugh until she cried. I haven't had this, she said one Sunday, watching Emily play with Mrs. Chen's youngest grandson in the living room. Family dinners, people just being together. Michael and I always ate in restaurants or at corporate events. This is... She trailed off, searching for words. Real, Ryan finished. Yeah, real. She turned to look at him, and something in her expression made his heart skip. Thank you for including me. Mrs. Chen included you. I just drove. You know what I mean. He did. And that was the problem. At work, things were shifting too. Pete had been dropping hints about the supervisor position more frequently, always when Alex was around, always with that knowing look that suggested he saw exactly what was happening and approved. Alex had started sitting in on the weekly team meetings, contributing ideas that actually made sense, streamlining the parts ordering process, implementing a customer feedback system that was simple rather than bureaucratic, finding grant money for updating their equipment. I'm impressed, Pete told Ryan one afternoon. They were in the office reviewing the quarterly numbers that had somehow improved despite the slow season. She's good at this, really good, and she's made you look even better. I haven't done anything different. Exactly. You've been doing good work all along, but now someone with corporate's ear is seeing it. That supervisor position? It's yours if you want it. She's already started the paperwork. Ryan's stomach did a complicated flip. She has? Met with her and Torres yesterday via video call. Told them we needed to promote from within, and you were the obvious choice. Torres agreed pending a formal review period. Pete grinned. Congratulations, Cooper. You earned it. The promotion should have felt like pure victory. More money, more responsibility, more stability for Emily. Instead, Ryan felt a complicated tangle of gratitude and guilt, and something else he didn't want to name. Had Alex pushed for his promotion because he deserved it, or because of what happened on Highway 14? Because of their friendship? Because of whatever this was between them that neither of them was acknowledging? He found Alex in the garage later, talking to Marcus about a hybrid system issue. She looked up when Ryan approached, and her smile was genuine and warm and completely free of guile. Pete told you? She asked. Yeah, thank you. Don't thank me. You've earned this 10 times over. I just made sure the right people noticed. She touched his arm briefly, that same gesture she'd done in the truck weeks ago. You're going to be great at this, Ryan. He wanted to believe it was that simple, that she'd recommended him purely on merit, that their friendship hadn't influenced the decision, that he hadn't somehow gained an unfair advantage. But late that night, lying in bed and staring at the ceiling, he couldn't shake the nagging doubt. Emily's talent show was scheduled for the Friday before Thanksgiving. Ryan had taken the afternoon off, and when he told Alex, she'd immediately said she wanted to come too. If that's okay. I know it's a family thing. You're family now, Ryan said, echoing Mrs. Chen's words. According to the official ruling, the elementary school auditorium was packed with parents and grandparents. everyone armed with cameras and proud smiles. Ryan found seats near the middle, Alex managing to wedge in beside him despite the cast, which had been replaced with a walking boot the week before. She was finally driving again, which meant their morning rides had ended, and Ryan had been surprised by how much he missed them. Nervous? Alex asked as they waited for the show to start. Terrified. Emily's been practicing non-stop, but she's convinced she's going to mess up. She'll be perfect. That kid could do anything. The show started with the usual elementary school chaos. A magic act where half the tricks failed, a group dance where everyone went different directions, a comedy routine that was mostly knock-knock jokes. Ryan's hands were sweating by the time Emily walked onto the stage, small and serious in her blue dress, and sat down at the piano. The auditorium went quiet. Emily's hands hovered over the keys for a moment, and Ryan could see her taking a deep breath. Emily had been practicing for 6 weeks, her fingers learning the patterns, the melody becoming part of her muscle memory. Ryan watched his daughter play, watched her concentrate, watched her push through a moment where she almost stumbled but recovered, and his chest felt so full he could barely breathe. When she finished, the applause was immediate and thunderous. Emily stood and took a bow, her face flushed with pride and relief, her eyes finding Ryan in the crowd. He gave her a thumbs up, and her smile could have powered the whole school. She was incredible, Alex said, and Ryan realized she was crying. God, I'm a mess. I'm sorry, watching her be so brave. Hey, Ryan handed her a tissue from his pocket. It's okay. It's not okay. I'm her father's boss, crying at her talent show like some weirdo. You're her friend, Ryan said firmly, and friends cry at talent shows. That's allowed. After the show, they took Emily out for ice cream, her trophy, participation. Everyone got one, but she treasured it anyway, sitting proudly on the table. She chattered about the performance, about how scary it was, about how Jessica had messed up her gymnastics routine, but nobody cared because everyone was just proud she tried. That's the secret, Alex said, stealing a bite of Emily's chocolate chip. Trying is what matters. You can't succeed without risking failure. Did you try things that failed? Emily asked. All the time. My first job out of college, I proposed this elaborate system for tracking customer satisfaction. Spent 3 months developing it. It was a complete disaster. Way too complicated. Nobody used it. Alex smiled at the memory. But I learned from it. The system I use now is simple because I learned what doesn't work. So failing is good? Failing is information. It tells you what to adjust. The only real failure is not trying at all. Ryan listened to Alex talk to his daughter, watched the easy way they interacted, the genuine affection in both their faces. Emily had been right. Alex did make him happy. She made everything brighter somehow, like someone had turned up the color saturation on his life, and that terrified him more than anything. The week before Thanksgiving brought the first real snow, wet and heavy, blanketing Ashford in white that would probably be slush by morning. The garage was busy with people wanting winter tires and antifreeze checks and heaters that had stopped working. Ryan worked long hours, training Marcus for more advanced diagnostics, now that the supervisor promotion was official, handling the complicated jobs, and trying not to think about how often he found excuses to check in with Alex in the office. Wednesday afternoon, Pete closed the shop early so everyone could get home before the roads got too bad. Ryan was cleaning up his bay when Alex appeared, bundled in a heavy coat, the walking boot making her gait uneven. Need a ride? Ryan asked. Roads are getting slippery. I was going to offer you one, actually. Your truck doesn't have four-wheel drive. It's got character and determination. That's almost as good, Alex laughed. How about we take my car, and I'll bring you back to get your truck tomorrow? They stopped to pick up Emily from Mrs. Chen's, where she'd been staying after school. Mrs. Chen took one look at the weather and insisted they take containers of soup home. You eat this, stay warm. No cooking tonight. The drive to Ryan's house took twice as long as usual, Alex navigating the snow-covered streets carefully. When they pulled up, the house looked small and shabby against the white landscape, the porch light casting a warm glow that was inviting and inadequate at the same time. You want to come in? Ryan heard himself ask. Warm up before you drive home? I'd like that. Inside, Emily immediately claimed the soup and started heating it on the stove, chattering about Thanksgiving plans with Mrs. Chen's family. Ryan turned on lights, suddenly seeing his home through Alex's eyes. The worn furniture, the crayon drawings on the fridge, the stack of bills he'd been meaning to file. The general clutter of a life being lived by two people doing their best. "I love it," Alex said, looking around. "It feels like a home, real and lived in. It's messy. It's perfect." She picked up a photo from the side table. Ryan, Sarah, and infant Emily, all of them exhausted and happy in the hospital room. "Is this her?" "Yeah, that's Sarah." Alex studied the photo for a long moment. "She was beautiful. And you can see how much she loved you both." "She did. Every day, even when it got hard." Ryan took the photo and set it back carefully. "Some days I feel guilty." "For what?" "For being happy. For laughing, for enjoying things, for—" He stopped, but Alex finished the thought. "For moving forward?" "Yeah." "Ryan." Alex waited until he looked at her. "Grief isn't a debt you pay with unhappiness. Sarah loved you. That means she would want you to live, not just exist." Emily said something similar. "Emily's a smart kid. You should listen to her." They ate Mrs. Chen's soup at the kitchen table, Emily between them, snow falling outside the window. It felt domestic and comfortable and dangerous in ways Ryan couldn't articulate. After dinner, Emily wanted to watch a movie, and somehow Alex ended up staying, the three of them on the couch with blankets, watching a Pixar film Emily had seen dozens of times but never got tired of. Halfway through, Emily fell asleep against Ryan's shoulder. He looked down at her, then over at Alex, who was watching them with an expression that made his heart ache. "She's lucky," Alex said softly, "to have you." "I'm the lucky one." "No, Ryan, you're the good one. There's a difference." The movie ended. Alex should have left, but the snow was worse now, coming down in sheets that made driving dangerous. Ryan checked the weather on his phone. Winter storm warning, advised to stay off roads unless absolutely necessary. "You can stay," he said. "Guest room's small, but the bed's decent." Alex hesitated. "I don't want to impose." "You're not. I'm not letting you drive in this." Ryan stood carefully. Emily's still asleep against him. "Let me put her to bed, then I'll get you set up." He carried Emily to her room, tucked her in like he had every night for 9 years, kissed her forehead, and turned on her nightlight. When he came back out, Alex was looking at the photos on the wall. A timeline of Emily's life from infant to now, mixed with pictures of Sarah, of Ryan's parents before they passed, of the family they'd built and lost and rebuilt. "This is what I wanted," Alex said, not turning around. "This whole time climbing the corporate ladder, making VP by 35, checking all the boxes, I thought I was building towards something, but I was building the wrong thing. This—" She gestured at the photos, at the house, at everything. "This is what matters." Ryan didn't know what to say, so he just showed her to the guest room and found clean sheets and an extra blanket. "Bathroom's across the hall. Help yourself to anything you need." "Ryan?" Alex stopped him as he was leaving. "Thank you for everything. It's just a bed for the night. You know that's not what I mean." He did know, and that was exactly why he needed to leave, to put a door between them, to remember all the reasons this couldn't be anything more than friendship. But he stood there in the doorway, looking at Alex in his house in his guest room with snow falling outside, and all those reasons felt suddenly flimsy. "Good night, Alex." "Good night." Ryan lay in his own bed that night, separated from Alex by 20 feet, and a wall that might as well have been paper for all the protection it offered. He could hear her moving around, getting ready for bed. The sounds of someone making themselves comfortable in an unfamiliar space. The house felt different with her in it, fuller somehow, like all the empty spaces had been occupied by possibility. He thought about what she'd said, about building the wrong things. He thought about his own life, so carefully controlled, so focused on stability and security that he'd forgotten about joy. He thought about Sarah's last words to Emily, about the promise to be happy. And he thought about Alex, about the way she laughed, about her dry humor and sharp mind, about the way she'd integrated herself into his life so smoothly he hadn't noticed until she was essential, about the way his heart sped up when he saw her, about the way conversations with her felt like coming home. Somewhere around 2 in the morning, Ryan heard Emily's door open and her footsteps in the hall. He got up and found her standing outside Alex's door, looking uncertain. "Bad dream?" he whispered. Emily shook her head. "I heard someone and got confused. I forgot Ms. Reed was staying over." "Go back to bed, sweetheart." But Alex's door opened before Emily could move. She stood there in borrowed pajamas, Ryan's actually, an old t-shirt and sweatpants that were comically large on her, looking rumpled and concerned. "Everything okay?" "Bad dream," Emily said, contradicting what she'd just told Ryan. "Those are the worst." Alex knelt down to Emily's level, cast and all. "You want to talk about it?" "I dreamed Dad was gone. Like Mom. That I was alone." Ryan's heart broke. Emily had nightmares sometimes, usually triggered by stress or change, or just the random cruelty of a child's subconscious. He moved toward her, but Alex was already pulling her into a hug. "You're not alone, sweetie. You've got your dad and Mrs. Chen and me and so many people who love you. Bad dreams lie. They make scary things seem real when they're not. Promise?" "Promise. And if you're scared, you can always call your dad. Or me. Anytime. Okay?" Emily nodded against Alex's shoulder, then pulled back. "Thanks, Ms. Reed." Alex. Just Alex. Ryan tucked Emily back into bed, staying until she fell asleep again, then found Alex still in the hallway. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for that. She's a good kid. She shouldn't have to be scared." They stood there in the dim hallway, snow still falling outside, the house quiet around them. Alex looked young without makeup, vulnerable in oversized pajamas, and Ryan realized with startling clarity that he was in love with her. Had been for weeks, probably. Maybe since that first moment on Highway 14 when he'd pulled her from the wreck. Not the dramatic movie kind of love that hit like lightning, but the quiet kind that crept in through small moments and morning conversations and shared dinners until it was simply there, as fundamental as breathing. The realization should have terrified him. Instead, it felt like relief. "Alex," he started, not sure what he was going to say, just knowing he needed to say something. "Don't." She held up a hand. "Whatever you're thinking, don't say it tonight. Not like this, not in the middle of the night with emotions running high. If there's something to say it in the daylight when we're both sure." She was right. She was always right. "Okay. Okay." Alex smiled, small and sad and hopeful. "Good night, Ryan." "Good night." Ryan went back to his room, and this time when he lay down, something had shifted. The fear was still there, all the practical concerns about workplace relationships and setting a good example for Emily and not wanting to mess up something good. But underneath it, solid and sure, was the knowledge that whatever this was between them, it was real. It mattered. And maybe, just maybe, it was worth the risk. Morning came with weak sunlight filtering through clouds, the snow reduced to flurries. Emily was up early, excited to find Alex still there, and insisted on making pancakes for everyone. They were slightly burned and unevenly shaped, but Alex ate them with apparent enthusiasm, praising Emily's cooking skills. "Best pancakes I've had in years," she declared, and Emily beamed. Ryan drove Alex back to her condo in the truck, which started after only 3 tries in the cold. The roads were mostly clear, salt and plows having done their work overnight. They didn't talk much, both lost in their own thoughts, but it was a comfortable silence. "Thank you for last night," Alex said as Ryan pulled up to her building. "For letting me stay, for everything." "Any time." She looked at him for a long moment, something unspoken passing between them. Then she leaned over and kissed his cheek, quick and soft. "Happy Thanksgiving, Ryan." "Happy Thanksgiving." He watched her walk into her building, the walking boot making her movements awkward but determined. Then he drove to the garage to pick up his truck, his cheek still warm where she'd kissed it, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts he couldn't quite organize. Pete was there doing paperwork in the office. He looked up when Ryan came in. "Heard Alex got snowed in at your place last night." "News travels fast." "Always does." "You two figure things out yet?" Ryan blinked. "Figure what out?" "Come on, Cooper. I'm old, not blind. You've been dancing around each other for weeks." Pete leaned back in his chair. "For what it's worth, I think you'd be good together. And before you start worrying about workplace politics, the supervisor promotion is already approved by corporate. Nothing she does now changes that. It's on merit, documented, and official. It's complicated. It's always complicated. That's life. Pete picked up his coffee mug. Sarah was a good woman. She'd want you to be happy. And that girl makes you happy. Anyone can see it. You sound like Emily. Emily's a smart kid. Maybe listen to her. Ryan grabbed his truck keys and headed out, Pete's words echoing in his head alongside Alex's and Emily's. Everyone seemed to think this was simple, that happiness was just there for the taking if he'd stop overthinking and reach for it. Maybe they were right. Thanksgiving was chaos at Mrs. Chen's house, her entire extended family crammed into every available space, food covering every surface, kids running around in a delighted frenzy. Alex showed up with wine and flowers, and Mrs. Chen immediately put her to work setting the table, treating her exactly like she treated everyone else, with bossy affection and absolute acceptance. Ryan helped in the kitchen, stealing glances at Alex as she talked with Mrs. Chen's daughter, as she played with the younger kids, as she seamlessly fit into this makeshift family they'd all built. Emily stuck close to her, proudly introducing her to everyone as my friend Alex, who's also my dad's friend, and she's really nice, and she broke her leg, but she's getting better. They ate until they couldn't move, then ate dessert anyway because Mrs. Chen insisted, and you didn't argue with Mrs. Chen. As evening fell and people started leaving, Ryan found himself on the back porch with Alex, both of them wrapped in blankets, watching stars emerge in the clear, cold sky. This is the best Thanksgiving I've had in 10 years, Alex said softly. Maybe ever. Corporate events not measuring up? Corporate events are performances. This was real. She turned to look at him. You've built something amazing, Ryan. This life, this family. Emily, Mrs. Chen, even Pete and the guys at the garage. You've created something real and good. I just tried to keep going after Sarah died. This sort of happened around me. No, you made this happen by being the kind of person people want in their lives. Alex pulled her blanket tighter. I spent so long building the wrong things. I want to build the right things now. I want what you have. Alex, I'm falling in love with you, she said, the words tumbling out in a rush. I know that's complicated and probably inappropriate, and I'm your boss, so this creates all kinds of problems. I know you're still grieving Sarah, and Emily has to come first, and there are 1,000 reasons why this is a terrible idea. But I needed to say it, in the daylight like I promised, when I'm sure. I'm falling in love with you, Ryan Cooper, and I don't know what to do about it. Ryan's heart was hammering so hard he could hear it. I'm in love with you too. The words hung in the cold air between them, simple and true and terrifying. You are? Yeah, I think I have been since you asked me to stay at the hospital, maybe before. Ryan took her hand, their fingers cold then warm where they touched. I'm scared. Of messing this up, of it affecting work, of Emily getting hurt if things don't work out. I'm scared of a lot of things. Me too. But I'm more scared of not trying, of looking back someday and wondering what if. Ryan squeezed her hand. Sarah told Emily I needed to promise to be happy. I think maybe this is what she meant. Alex's eyes were bright with tears. So what do? We try. Carefully, slowly, figuring it out as we go. We tell Emily first, make sure she's okay with this. We're professional at work, keep boundaries there. And we try. Trying is what matters, Alex said, echoing her own words to Emily. Yeah, it is. Ryan leaned in, and Alex met him halfway, and their first kiss was soft and tentative and perfect. It tasted like possibility and hope, and the courage to build something new from the ashes of what came before. When they pulled apart, Alex was smiling through tears, and Ryan felt lighter than he had in 3 years. This is crazy, Alex whispered. Completely crazy. We're really doing this? Yeah, Ryan said. We really are. Inside, through the window, they could see Emily and the other kids playing, Mrs. Chen directing her family with gentle authority, the warm light and laughter of people who cared about each other. Life, messy and complicated and beautiful, going on the way It always did. Ryan kissed Alex again, taking his time now, and thought about roads and crashes and the strange ways the universe brought people together, about how sometimes the worst moments led to the best things, about courage and grief and the terrifying, wonderful leap of trying again. "Happy Thanksgiving," he murmured against her lips. "Happy Thanksgiving," Alex said back. And somewhere in the cold November night, with snow beginning to fall again and stars watching overhead, two broken people began the careful work of building something whole. They told Emily the next morning over breakfast. Ryan had barely slept, running through different versions of the conversation in his head, trying to find the right words to explain something he barely understood himself. But when they sat down at the kitchen table with pancakes and orange juice, Emily looked at them both and said, "You're together now, right?" Ryan nearly dropped his fork. "How did you—" "I saw you kissing on Mrs. Chen's porch last night, through the window." Emily took a bite of pancake, completely matter of fact. "It's okay, Dad. I told you it was okay." Alex laughed, the sound surprised and relieved. "You're not upset?" "Why would I be upset? You make Dad smile the real way, not the pretend way he does when he thinks I'm not looking. And you're nice to me, and you like Mrs. Chen's dumplings, and you didn't make fun of my piano playing even though I messed up twice." "You didn't mess up," Alex said firmly. "You recovered beautifully. That's different." Emily grinned and turned to Ryan. "See? She's perfect." "She is pretty great," Ryan agreed, meeting Alex's eyes across the table. She blushed, actually blushed, and he felt that warmth in his chest again, the one that was becoming familiar. "So can Alex come to movie night on Fridays?" Emily asked. "And can we still do Sunday dinners at Mrs. Chen's? And will you get married?" "Whoa, slow down there, kiddo." Ryan held up his hands. "Yes to movie night, yes to Sunday dinners, and the marriage thing is way too early to even think about. But someday maybe?" Ryan looked at Alex, who was trying not to laugh. "Someday maybe. But let's take this one step at a time, okay?" "Okay." Emily finished her pancakes and carried her plate to the sink. "I'm going to call Jessica and tell her my dad has a girlfriend. She's going to be so jealous." After Emily ran off to her room, Ryan and Alex sat in the kitchen, the morning light streaming through the window, the normalcy of the moment almost jarring after the intensity of last night. "That went better than expected," Alex said. "She's been planning this since before we figured it out ourselves." "Smart kid." "Takes after her mother." Ryan reached across the table and took Alex's hand. "So, we're really doing this." "We're really doing this." Alex squeezed his fingers. "What's the plan? How do we handle work?" "Carefully. Pete knows. He's fine with it. But we keep things professional at the garage. No favoritism, no public displays of affection, nothing that makes the other guys uncomfortable or gives corporate any reason to question the promotion." "Agreed. And I want to be clear, the promotion is happening regardless of us. Torres already signed off. It's in the system. It's done. This doesn't change that." "I know. I trust you." Ryan paused. "That's new for me. Trusting someone this fast." "It's new for me too. After Michael, I swore off relationships for a while. Figured I was better off alone." Alex smiled softly. "Then some guy pulled me out of a wrecked car and turned my whole life upside down. Sorry about that." "Don't be." They spent the rest of the weekend in a strange kind of limbo, not quite sure how to be together, but figuring it out through small moments. Alex came back that afternoon and they watched football on TV while Emily practiced piano in the other room. They made dinner together, Alex chopping vegetables while Ryan handled the stove, their movements around each other tentative at first, then gradually more comfortable. When Alex left that evening, Ryan walked her to her car and kissed her goodbye, and it felt both brand new and like something they'd been doing forever. Monday morning brought reality back with force. Ryan arrived at the garage early to find Pete already there, along with an unfamiliar car in the lot, a sleek Mercedes with corporate plates. "Torres is here," Pete said, his face grim. "Surprise inspection. He's in my office." Ryan's stomach dropped. "When did he arrive?" "Half-hour ago. Wants to see you as soon as you get in." Richard Torres was a tall man in his 50s with steel gray hair and a manner that suggested he didn't waste time on pleasantries. He looked up when Ryan entered the office, his expression unreadable. "Ryan Cooper. Have a seat." Ryan sat, his mind racing through possibilities. This was about Alex, had to be. Someone had seen them together, reported back to corporate, and now the promotion was in jeopardy. Or worse, Alex's position was. I've been reviewing the quarterly reports for all our regional locations, Torres said, shuffling papers on Pete's desk. Lou's Auto Service has shown significant improvement over the past 2 months. Customer satisfaction up 18%, efficiency metrics improved across the board, and employee retention at 100%. That's remarkable. We've got a good team, Ryan managed. You do. And from what I'm seeing in Alexandra's reports, you're a significant part of why that team functions so well. Torres leaned back. She's recommended you for the regional supervisor position, as you know, but I wanted to meet you myself before finalizing anything. Corporate doesn't like surprises. I understand. Tell me about the transmission job last month, the Wallace Chevy. Ryan walked him through it, the diagnostic process, the complications, how he'd worked with Marcus to solve problems as they arose. Torres asked sharp questions, the kind that revealed he actually understood automotive work rather than just management theory. Gradually, Ryan relaxed, falling into the familiar rhythm of talking about what he knew best. You care about the work, Torres said after 20 minutes. Not just doing it, but doing it right. That's rare. It's the only way I know how to do it. Torres studied him for a long moment. Alexandra speaks very highly of you, says you're exactly the kind of employee we should be promoting, that you lead by example, that the other mechanics respect you, that customers trust you. He paused. She also disclosed that you two have developed a personal relationship. There it was. Ryan's mouth went dry. Yes, sir. We have. That's a potential conflict of interest. I know, but the promotion was approved before we started dating. It's documented and official, based on merit and performance reviews going back years. Our relationship doesn't change that. No, it doesn't. Torres tapped his pen on the desk. Here's the thing, Cooper. I don't care who dates whom, as long as the work gets done and there's no favoritism or harassment involved. But I need to know that this won't become a problem down the line. If things go south between you two, can you still work together professionally? Ryan thought about it, really thought about it. Yes, because neither of us would let personal issues affect the business. That's not who we are. Good answer. Torres stood and extended his hand. The promotion is yours. Congratulations. You start officially January 1st, which gives you 5 weeks to transition. Alexandra will be overseeing 5 other locations in addition to this one, so you'll be her primary contact here. Think you can handle that? Yes, sir. They shook hands, and Ryan left the office feeling like he'd just survived an interrogation. Pete was waiting in the garage, trying to look busy, but obviously hovering. Well? He asked as soon as Torres was out of earshot. He knew about me and Alex. She told him. Pete's eyebrows shot up. She did? Before it could become a problem, disclosed it officially. Ryan shook his head, something between admiration and disbelief washing over him. She protected both of us. That's smart. Corporate can't complain about something they already know about. Pete clapped him on the shoulder. Welcome to management, Cooper. It's going to be a hell of a ride. Alex arrived an hour later, walking with barely a limp now that the boot was gone, and physical therapy was working its magic. She caught Ryan's eye across the garage and raised an eyebrow in question. He gave her a subtle thumbs up, and her whole face relaxed. They didn't get a chance to talk until lunch, when Alex suggested they grab sandwiches from the deli down the street. They walked the 3 blocks in comfortable silence, the December air cold enough to see their breath, but the sun bright overhead. Torres talked to you, Alex said once they were seated in the deli. Yeah, thanks for telling him about us before he found out another way. I wasn't going to risk your promotion or my job on someone else's gossip. She unwrapped her sandwich. He was okay with it? Said as long as it doesn't affect the work, he doesn't care, which is surprisingly progressive for corporate. Torres is practical. He cares about results, not office politics. Alex took a bite, chewed thoughtfully. I was terrified, though. Thought maybe I'd just torpedoed both our careers. You did the right thing. You always do the right thing. Not always. I stayed married to Michael for 3 years too long because I was afraid of failing. I took this transfer to get away from Portland instead of dealing with my problems there. I've made plenty of mistakes. But you learn from them. That's what matters. Ryan reached across the table and briefly touched her hand. And for the record, I'm glad you took the transfer, even if it meant wrecking your car and breaking your leg. Silver linings and all that, Alex smiled. So we survived the corporate inspection. What's next? Next, we figure out how to be together without screwing up everything we've both worked for. Sounds simple. Sounds impossible. Well, Alex said, her smile turning mischievous, we've done impossible things before. The next few weeks settled into a rhythm that felt both new and natural. Ryan and Alex were scrupulously professional at work, their interactions focused on business, no special treatment visible to anyone watching. But after hours, they built something else entirely. Dinners at Ryan's house or Alex's condo, movie nights with Emily, Sunday gatherings at Mrs. Chen's that had expanded to include half the neighborhood. Alex taught Emily more advanced piano techniques, drawing on her childhood violin lessons. Ryan fixed Alex's kitchen cabinets and the weird noise her car was making. They went on actual dates too, dinner and a movie like normal couples, though they kept those in the next town over to avoid the Ashford gossip mill. This is weird, Marcus said one afternoon at the garage. He and Ryan were working on a particularly stubborn brake system, both of them wedged under a Ford Explorer. You and Miss Reed dating. I mean, good weird, but weird. Tell me about it. Pete says you're handling it well, keeping work and personal separate. Trying to. Ryan passed him a wrench. It's not always easy. I bet. But you seem happy, man. Happier than I've seen you since I started here. Marcus was quiet for a moment, just the sound of tools against metal. That's good. You deserve to be happy. Ryan didn't know what to say to that, so he just kept working. But the words stayed with him. Deserve. Like happiness was something you earned through suffering, through endurance, through proving you'd paid enough dues. Maybe it was. Or maybe it was just something you chose when the opportunity presented itself. Emily's Christmas pageant fell on the last day of school before winter break. She'd been cast as a narrator, which meant memorizing a dozen pages of script and delivering them with appropriate dramatic flair. Ryan and Alex both took off work early to attend, sitting together in the auditorium with the other parents, Alex's hand finding his in the darkness as the lights went down. Emily was perfect, her voice clear and confident as she guided the audience through the story. When it was over and the applause thundered through the space, Ryan felt that familiar ache in his chest, pride and loss tangled together, wishing Sarah could see this, grateful that Alex was here to witness it instead. She's incredible, Alex whispered as they stood to leave. She really is. They took Emily out for celebratory ice cream afterward, even though it was freezing outside and they all had to huddle in their coats while eating. Emily chattered about the pageant, about her friend's costume malfunction, about how she'd almost forgotten her lines but remembered just in time. I was so scared, she admitted, but then I saw you guys in the audience and I remembered what you said, Alex, about trying being what matters, so I just tried. And you succeeded, Alex said firmly. That's how it works. Later that night, after Emily was in bed, Ryan and Alex sat in his living room with mugs of tea, the Christmas tree lights casting colored shadows across the walls. They decorated it the week before, all three of them, with Emily directing the placement of every ornament like a tiny perfectionist general. I got you something, Alex said, pulling a small wrapped box from her bag. Early Christmas present. Ryan took it, surprised. They'd agreed on small gifts this year, nothing extravagant. He unwrapped it carefully to find a leather keychain with a small silver medallion attached. Engraved on one side was a simple message. You are the good one. It's what I said to you, Alex explained softly. That night after Thanksgiving, you said you were lucky, and I said no, you're the good one. I wanted you to have a reminder. Ryan's throat was tight. Alex, this is... Thank you. You're welcome. She set down her tea and moved closer. I know we're taking things slow. I know we're being careful. But I need you to know that this isn't casual for me. You and Emily, this life you've built, being part of it, it's everything I didn't know I needed. It's everything for me, too. Ryan pulled her close, breathing in the scent of her shampoo, feeling her warmth against him. I love you. I should say that more often. I love you, too. They sat like that for a long time, the tree lights glowing, the house quiet around them. Through the window, Ryan could see snow beginning to fall, soft and steady, blanketing the world in white. It felt like peace, like hope, like the ending of one chapter and the beginning of another. Christmas came with all its chaos and joy. Emily woke them at 6 in the morning. Alex had stayed over on Christmas Eve after they'd spent hours assembling the bike Emily had been begging for, and dragged them both downstairs to the tree. Alex had brought gifts for everyone, thoughtful things that showed she'd been paying attention. A new toolkit for Ryan, piano books for Emily, a ridiculous sweater for Mrs. Chen that the older woman loved immediately. Ryan's gift to Alex was a vintage violin he'd found at an estate sale and had restored by a professional. When she opened it, she went completely still, her eyes filling with tears. "Ryan, this is too much. You said it was never too late to do what you love. So do what you love." He touched her face gently. "Play for us sometime." "I will. I promise." They spent Christmas Day at Mrs. Chen's, the house packed with people and food and laughter. Alex fit in like she'd always been there, helping in the kitchen, playing games with the kids, listening to Mrs. Chen's stories about the old country with genuine interest. Watching her, Ryan felt something settle in his chest. Certainty. This was right. This was real. This was what building the right things looked like. But the universe, Ryan was learning, had a way of testing certainty. The call came 2 days after Christmas, early in the morning. Ryan's phone buzzing insistently pulled him from sleep. Unknown number, Seattle area code. He almost ignored it. Then something made him answer. "Mr. Cooper, this is Stevens and Associates law firm. We're calling on behalf of Michael Reed regarding his divorce from Alexandra Reed." Ryan was instantly awake. "What about it?" "Mr. Reed has concerns regarding the nature of Ms. Reed's relationship with you and how it might impact the final settlement. We'd like to request a meeting to discuss—" "No." Ryan's voice was flat. "Alex's divorce is her business, not mine. You want to discuss something, you talk to her lawyer." "Mr. Cooper, we can make this easy or difficult. Mr. Reed simply wants to ensure that his soon-to-be ex-wife isn't in a relationship that began before the separation, as that would affect the settlement terms. The separation was 6 months before I even met Alex. The divorce was filed 4 months before that, so there's nothing to discuss." Ryan was out of bed now, pacing. "Don't call me again. And if Michael Reed has a problem, he can talk to Alex directly instead of hiding behind lawyers." He hung up, his hand shaking with anger. The phone rang again immediately. He ignored it this time, then blocked the number. Then he called Alex. She answered on the second ring, sounding groggy. "Ryan, what's wrong?" "Your ex-husband's lawyers just called me. They're trying to claim our relationship affects the divorce settlement." A long silence. Then Alex's voice, tight and controlled. "I'm coming over." She arrived 20 minutes later, still in pajamas with a coat thrown over them, her hair uncombed and her face pale with fury. Ryan had made coffee, and they sat at the kitchen table while Alex explained. "Michael's been fighting the settlement for months. He wants half my retirement, half my savings, even though we kept separate accounts and the marriage only lasted 4 years. His lawyer is looking for any angle to prove I was unfaithful or that I'm not negotiating in good faith." She pressed her hands flat on the table like she was physically holding herself together. "This is my fault. I should have warned you this might happen." "How is this your fault? You left him, filed for divorce, followed every rule." "But Michael doesn't care about rules. He cares about winning." Alex looked up at Ryan, her eyes fierce. "He's going to try to make trouble for you. Maybe at work, maybe with Emily. I won't let that happen. If I need to step back, if I need to No." Ryan caught her hands. "No, you're not stepping back. We're not letting some bitter ex dictate our lives. We've done nothing wrong. But if it affects your promotion, or if corporate decides I'm a liability, then we deal with it together. That's what this is, right? Being together means facing problems together." Alex's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I don't want you to lose anything because of me. I won't, because we're smarter than he is, and we've got documentation and witnesses and the truth on our side." Ryan squeezed her hands. "But we need to be strategic. We need to tell Torres before Michael's lawyer does. Get ahead of it." "You're right." Alex took a shaky breath. "I'll call him this morning, explain the situation. And I'll call my neighbor Jim. He's a lawyer, does family law. He can advise us on what to expect. They spent the rest of the morning making calls, building their defense against an attack they'd hoped wouldn't come. Torres was surprisingly supportive when Alex explained the situation, saying he dealt with vindictive ex-spouses before and knew the playbook. Jim, who Ryan had helped numerous times with car troubles and had never properly paid him back, offered his services pro bono to make sure Michael's lawyers couldn't manufacture any legal trouble. "This is going to get ugly," Jim warned over the phone. "These things usually do, but if you've both got clean hands, which it sounds like you do, then there's nothing to worry about legally. Personally, though, it might get uncomfortable." Uncomfortable turned out to be an understatement. Over the next 2 weeks, Michael's lawyer tried every angle, calling the garage directly and asking Pete invasive questions about when Ryan and Alex started dating, contacting Ashford General to request Alex's hospital records from the accident, even showing up at Mrs. Chen's house to ask about Sunday dinners. Mrs. Chen, bless her, slammed the door in his face and called Ryan immediately. "Rude man in bad suit asking about you and Alex. I tell him nothing. Next time he come, I have my grandson talk to him. Very big grandson." The pressure was constant and exhausting. Alex grew quieter, more withdrawn, carrying guilt that no amount of reassurance could fully erase. Ryan watched her pull back bit by bit, protecting him and Emily from her ex-husband's vindictiveness by creating distance. She stopped coming to Sunday dinners. She declined movie nights. She was professional to the point of coldness at work. And when Ryan tried to talk to her about it, she deflected. "I just need to get through this," she said. "Once the divorce is final, once Michael's lawyer realizes there's nothing to find, it'll all blow over." But Ryan knew better. He'd seen this before in Sarah's final months, the way she'd tried to protect him and Emily from her pain by shouldering it alone. It hadn't worked then, and it wouldn't work now. He found her one evening in early January, sitting alone in her condo, the place dark except for the lamp by the couch. She looked small and tired, nothing like the confident woman who'd walked into the garage that first day. "Hey," Ryan said softly, letting himself in with the key she'd given him. "Rough day?" "They're all rough days lately." Alex didn't look up. "Michael's lawyer sent another letter. They're threatening to subpoena Emily, ask her about when we started dating, whether I was ever at your house before Thanksgiving." Ryan's blood went cold. "They can't do that. She's 9 years old." "They can try. Jim says it won't go anywhere, that no judge would allow it, but just the threat—" Alex's voice broke. "I can't let Emily get dragged into this. I won't." "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe we should take a break, just until the divorce is final, until Michael realizes he can't hurt me anymore." "No." "Ryan, no." He sat down beside her, taking her hands firmly. "That's exactly what he wants. He wants to isolate you, make you think you're poison to everyone around you, but you're not. You're the best thing that's happened to me and Emily in 3 years, and we're not letting some bitter ex steal that. But Emily is tougher than you think, and she loves you. She asked me last week when you were going to come back to movie nights because it's not the same without you." Ryan waited until Alex looked at him. "We're in this together, all of us. Mrs. Chen, Pete, Jim, me, Emily. You've got a whole army behind you. Stop trying to fight alone." The tears came then, hard and messy, and Ryan pulled her close while she cried out weeks of stress and guilt and fear. When she finally quieted, he got her a glass of water and made her drink it, then ordered Chinese food because he knew she hadn't been eating properly. "I don't know how to do this," Alex admitted over lo mein. "The divorce is bringing up everything Michael said about me. That I'm too focused on work, that I'm cold, that I don't know how to be a real partner. What if he's right?" "He's not right. He's an idiot who let you go and can't stand that you're happy without him." Ryan set down his chopsticks. "You're not cold. You're careful, which is different. You're careful because you've been hurt. But with me, with Emily, with everyone who matters, you're warm and funny and so full of love it makes my chest hurt sometimes." "Really?" "Really. And I need you to trust that, trust us. Trust that we're strong enough to weather whatever Michael throws at us." Alex was quiet for a long moment, pushing noodles around her plate. Then she looked up with something of her old fire in her eyes. Okay, you're right. No more pulling away. We face this together." "Together," Ryan confirmed. The divorce was finally settled in late January, Michael agreeing to terms after his lawyer failed to find any evidence of wrongdoing. Alex kept her retirement and savings, he kept the Portland condo they'd shared, and they both walked away free. The relief on Alex's face when she got the call was profound, years of tension draining away in an instant. "It's done," she said, sitting in Ryan's living room with Emily between them on the couch. "It's actually done." "Good," Emily said firmly. "Now can we go back to normal movie nights? I miss you being here." "Yeah, sweetheart. Normal movie nights." They celebrated with Chinese takeout and a Marvel movie marathon. The three of them piled on the couch with blankets, everything finally settling back into place. Watching Alex and Emily argue about which superhero was best, Ryan felt that certainty again, stronger now for having survived the storm. His phone buzzed. A text from Pete. "Corporate sending someone tomorrow for your official supervisor review. Just a formality, but look sharp." Ryan showed Alex the message. She smiled. "You're going to do great. You've earned this. We've earned this. All of us." The review the next day was indeed a formality. An HR representative from Seattle who spent 3 hours touring the garage, interviewing the staff, reviewing Ryan's work history and performance metrics. She seemed pleased with everything she found, making notes and nodding frequently. "You've built an excellent team dynamic here," she told Ryan at the end. "Employee satisfaction scores are the highest in the region, and your technical skills are well documented. I'll be recommending final approval for the supervisor position." The official letter came a week later, making it real. Ryan Cooper, regional supervisor, effective immediately, with a salary that would finally let him breathe easy. He showed the letter to Emily first, and she shrieked and hugged him so hard his ribs cracked. "Does this mean we can get a dog?" she asked. "Don't push your luck, kid." He called Alex next, catching her between meetings at one of the other locations she oversaw. "It's official. The letter came." "Ryan, that's wonderful. I'm so proud of you." "Couldn't have done it without you, and I mean that. You saw something in me I didn't see in myself. I just saw what was already there. You did the hard work." That night, they celebrated at the nicest restaurant in Ashford, just the two of them, Alex in a dress that made Ryan forget how to form sentences and Ryan in the one suit he owned that still fit. They talked about the future, careful and hopeful, about what came next. "I've been thinking," Alex said over dessert. "My lease is up in April. I could renew, or—" She trailed off, watching him. "Or?" Ryan prompted, his heart picking up speed. "Or I could not renew. Could find somewhere else. Maybe somewhere with a little more space, a yard for Emily to play in. Maybe somewhere closer to you." Ryan set down his fork. "How much closer?" "That depends. How would you and Emily feel about me being really close, like same address close? Are you asking to move in with us?" "I'm floating the idea. We've been together 4 months now, which is fast by normal standards, but nothing about us has been normal." Alex was nervous, he realized, her fingers fidgeting with her napkin. But if it's too soon, or if you need more time, or if Emily isn't ready— "Emily asked me last week if you were ever going to live with us because it would be more convenient for movie nights." Alex laughed, surprised. "She did?" "She did. And I told her that was a conversation for grown-ups to have, but that I'd like that someday." Ryan reached across the table. "I'd like that now if you would. The house is small, but we could make it work. Or we could find somewhere new, all three of us. Start fresh. I'd like that. Starting fresh with you." They sealed it with a kiss across the table, ignoring the amused looks from other diners, too happy to care about propriety. When they got home, Emily was still awake despite it being past her bedtime, reading in her room with a flashlight under the covers. "Emily Sarah Cooper, what are you still doing up?" Ryan asked, using her full name, which only happened when she was in trouble or he was being playful. "Waiting to hear how dinner went." "Did you ask her?" Emily directed this at Alex. "How did you—" Alex started, then laughed. "Yes, I asked him. And we're going to find a new place together, all three of us." Emily threw her book aside and launched herself at them both, wrapping her arms around Alex's waist. "Finally! Can we get a dog now?" "One step at a time," Ryan said, but he was already thinking maybe they could. Maybe everything was possible now. They spent the next few weeks house hunting, looking at places that could hold all three of them and whatever future they were building. Emily came to every showing, offering opinions on backyards and bedroom sizes and whether the kitchen was good enough for making pancakes. Mrs. Chen came too sometimes, pointing out structural issues and praising good bones, her real estate expertise from a previous career proving invaluable. They found it in mid-February, a 3-bedroom house on the edge of town with a big backyard and a porch perfect for summer evenings. It needed work. The kitchen was outdated, the bathroom tiles were cracked, the fence was falling down, but it had good bones, as Mrs. Chen said, and it had space for all of them, room to grow into. "This is the one," Emily declared, standing in the middle of the empty living room and spinning in circles. "This is definitely the one." Ryan looked at Alex, who was running her hand along the fireplace mantel, her expression soft. "What do you think?" "I think Emily's right. This is the one." They made an offer that night, and it was accepted the next day. Closing was set for April 1st, which gave them 6 weeks to pack and plan and figure out the logistics of combining 3 separate lives into one. It should have been stressful, but instead it felt like an adventure, the 3 of them tackling each challenge together. Pete threw Ryan a promotion party at the garage, just the team and their families, nothing fancy but full of genuine warmth. Marcus gave a toast that was mostly jokes about Ryan finally becoming the boss he'd always secretly been. Carlos contributed a bottle of expensive whiskey with a note that said, "Don't let it go to your head." And Pete, gruff and proud, pulled Ryan aside and said, "Your dad would be proud of you, son. I know I am." Alex stood next to Ryan through all of it, her hand in his, part of the family these men had built in this garage over years of shared work and mutual respect. No one questioned her presence. No one made it weird. She was just part of things now, the way she was part of everything else in Ryan's life. The night before they moved into the new house, Ryan couldn't sleep. He lay in his old bedroom, in the house where he'd brought Sarah as a bride, where Emily had taken her first steps, where Sarah had died with her family around her. Leaving felt like betrayal, like he was abandoning the memories built into these walls. He got up and found Emily awake too, sitting in the dark living room. "Can't sleep either?" he asked, settling beside her. "I'm sad," Emily said simply. "About leaving. I know the new house is better, and I'm excited, but this house has Mom in it. What if we forget her in the new place?" Ryan pulled her close. "We won't forget her. Mom isn't in the house, sweetheart. She's in us. In the way you scrunch your nose when you laugh like she did. In the way I still make her terrible jokes. We carry her with us wherever we go. Promise?" "Promise. And you know what? I think Mom would be happy about the new house, about Alex, about all of it. She wanted us to be happy. She said so, remember?" "I remember." Emily was quiet for a moment. "Do you think Alex will be like a mom to me?" The question made Ryan's heart ache. "I don't know, Em. She'll never replace your mom. Nobody could. But she can be something else, something just as important, if you want her to be." "I do want that. I want her to stay forever." "Then we'll make sure she knows that." They sat together in the dark house, saying goodbye to the past without letting go of it, making room for the future while honoring what came before. Outside, the first hints of dawn were touching the sky, February giving way to March, winter gradually releasing its grip. The move itself was chaos organized by Mrs. Chen, who showed up with her entire extended family and treated the operation like a military campaign. By evening, the new house was full of boxes and furniture and people, everyone pitching in to help arrange things and make the space feel like home. Alex's violin ended up on a shelf in the living room next to Emily's piano books. Ryan's tools filled the garage next to Alex's rarely used golf clubs. Their clothes mixed in the closet, their books combined on the shelves, their lives interweaving in 100 small ways. That night, after everyone had left and Emily was asleep in her new room, Ryan and Alex stood on the back porch and looked at their yard, at the fence that needed fixing and the garden that needed planting and all the work ahead of them. "We did it," Alex said softly. "We did. We built something real. Together." "Together," Ryan agreed. He thought about Highway 14, about that November morning that felt like a lifetime ago, about how one moment of deciding to stop, to help, to give a damn about a stranger had led to all of this, about how sometimes the worst things led to the best things, and how courage was just showing up and trying even when you were terrified. Alex leaned into him and Ryan wrapped his arms around her, and they stood there watching the stars come out over their new home, their new life, their carefully constructed happiness. Somewhere inside, Emily was dreaming. Somewhere in the past, Sarah was smiling. And here in the present, two people who'd been broken were learning how to be whole. It wasn't perfect. It would never be perfect. But it was real. And it was theirs. And that was more than enough. Spring came to Ashford with a vengeance that year, warm winds melting the last of the snow and coaxing green shoots from the earth. The new house responded to the season like it had been waiting. The garden beds Alex discovered under years of neglect began producing tulips and daffodils. The old apple tree in the corner of the yard burst into bloom, and suddenly their backyard was alive with color and possibility. Ryan spent his weekends fixing the fence while Alex tackled the kitchen, stripping old wallpaper and painting cabinets a soft cream color that made the whole room feel bigger. Emily helped where she could, mostly by providing commentary and bringing them snacks, but her enthusiasm made up for her limited construction skills. They worked as a team, the three of them, transforming the house from something they'd bought into something they'd built together. "This is harder than I expected," Alex said one Saturday afternoon, surveying their progress with paint-speckled hands. They'd been working for 6 hours straight, and the kitchen was only half done. "How do people do home renovation shows where everything's finished in a weekend?" "They have crews and budgets and editors," Ryan said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "We've got determination and YouTube tutorials." "And Mrs. Chen," Emily added. She was sitting at the kitchen table, taking a break from her job of removing old cabinet hardware. "She said she's bringing her grandson over next week to help with the heavy stuff." "That woman is a saint," Alex said. "I don't know what we'd do without her." "Probably still be painting," Ryan agreed. The work was exhausting but satisfying in ways Ryan hadn't anticipated. Every repair, every improvement, every small victory felt like they were claiming the house as theirs. This wasn't Sarah's house, wasn't the place where grief lived in every corner. This was new, untainted by loss, full of possibility. He could breathe here in a way he hadn't been able to in years. But change, Ryan was learning, never came without complications. The first real test came in early April when Emily's school called. Ryan was at the garage, deep in a complicated engine rebuild, when his phone rang. The school's number always made his stomach drop. Nothing good ever started with a call from the principal. "Mr. Cooper, this is Principal Davidson. I'm calling about Emily. There was an incident at recess today." Ryan's heart kicked into overdrive. "Is she hurt?" "No, she's fine physically, but she got into a fight with another student, pushed him hard enough that he fell and scraped his knee. We have a zero-tolerance policy for physical altercation, so she's suspended for the rest of the day. You'll need to come pick her up." A fight. Emily, who avoided conflict like other kids avoided vegetables, who cried when she accidentally stepped on ants. There has to be more to this. Emily doesn't just push people. "We're still gathering information, but regardless of the circumstances, physical violence results in automatic suspension. Can you be here within the hour?" Ryan promised he would be, hung up, and immediately called Alex. She was at another location 40 minutes away but said she'd meet him at the school. Then he told Pete he had a family emergency and drove to Ashford Elementary, his mind spinning through possibilities. He found Emily in the principal's office, her face red and tear-streaked, her arms crossed defensively across her chest. She wouldn't look at him when he came in. "Em, what happened?" "I don't want to talk about it." Principal Davidson, a kind woman in her 50s who'd been running the school since before Emily was born, gestured for Ryan to step into the hallway. The other student, Jason Miller, was apparently teasing Emily about her family situation, specifically about Ms. Reed living with you. He said some unkind things. Emily asked him to stop. He didn't, and she pushed him. Ryan's jaw tightened. "What exactly did he say?" "I'd rather not repeat it, but it was inappropriate and hurtful, and we'll be addressing it with Jason and his parents as well." Davidson's expression was sympathetic. "I know Emily's been through a lot, losing her mother, adjusting to a new family dynamic. But we can't allow physical responses to verbal provocation. I'm sure you understand." Ryan understood, but he didn't like it. "How long is the suspension?" "Just today. But she'll need to write an apology letter to Jason, and we'd like you to come in Monday for a parent conference. Ms. Reed is welcome to attend as well, if she's available." Alex arrived just as they were wrapping up, slightly out of breath from rushing. She took one look at Emily's face and immediately knelt down beside her. "Hey, kiddo. Rough day." Emily's composure crumbled. She threw herself into Alex's arms and sobbed, all the fear and anger and hurt pouring out in broken words about Jason and his mean comments and how she was sorry, but he wouldn't stop, and she didn't know what else to do. "It's okay," Alex murmured, holding her tight. "It's okay to be upset. We'll figure this out together." They drove home in Alex's car, Emily wedged between them in the back seat, even though she was probably too big for that, needing the physical contact. At home, Ryan made hot chocolate while Alex got Emily settled on the couch with blankets. Then they both sat down and let Emily tell the whole story. Jason Miller had apparently decided that Emily's new family situation was prime teasing material. It had started small, jokes about Emily having two moms now, questions about whether Alex was her real mother or just pretending. Emily had ignored it for weeks, the way the school counselor had taught her to handle bullies. But that day at recess, Jason had escalated. "He said that Alex was only with us because she felt sorry for me not having a real mom," Emily said, her voice small, "and that she'd leave once she got tired of playing house. And I told him to shut up, and he laughed and said everyone knew it was true, that you can't just replace someone's mom with a random lady." She looked up at Alex with devastated eyes. "And I know you're not trying to replace Mom, but he made it sound so awful, and I pushed him. I didn't mean for him to fall." Alex's face had gone very still. "Oh, Emily. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't have pushed him, but he was lying and I wanted him to stop." "He was lying," Alex said firmly. "Every word. I'm not trying to replace your mom. Nobody could ever do that. And I'm not here because I feel sorry for anyone. I'm here because I love you and your dad because you've become my family, and that's real. That's not playing house. That's just house." "Really, really, truly crossed my heart." Alex pulled Emily close. "And you know what? I'm proud of you for defending our family, even if the method wasn't great. It shows you care. But I got suspended." "Yeah, you did, and that has consequences. You'll write the apology letter like Principal Davidson asked, and you'll serve your suspension. But we're not mad at you, and we're definitely not ashamed of you. We're just sad that some kid hurt you with his words." Ryan had been quiet, letting Alex handle it, but now he spoke up. "We'll talk to Jason's parents too. What he said wasn't okay, suspension or not. And Monday at the parent conference, we'll make sure the school understands the full situation." Emily nodded, exhausted from emotion. She fell asleep on the couch an hour later, worn out from crying and the adrenaline crash. Ryan and Alex moved to the kitchen to talk privately. "This is because of me," Alex said, her voice tight. "Because I moved in. Because people are talking. Because—" "No," Ryan cut her off. "This is because some kid is a bully, and his parents apparently haven't taught him better. This isn't your fault." "But if I wasn't here, if you weren't here, Emily would be sadder, and I'd be lonelier, and this house would be a lot emptier. Don't do that. Don't make yourself the problem when you're part of the solution." Ryan took her hands. "Kids tease. It's what they do. Emily's going to face comments about her family no matter what, about not having a mom, about me raising her alone, about whatever. At least now she's got you in her corner, too." Alex's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I love her so much, both of you. It scares me sometimes how much." "I know. I feel the same way." They held each other in the kitchen as afternoon light slanted through the windows, drawing strength from each other the way they'd learned to do. When Emily woke up, an hour later, they made dinner together and watched a movie, enforcing the suspension rules but making sure Emily knew she was still loved. The parent conference on Monday was tense. Jason's parents were defensive, insisting their son hadn't meant anything by his comments. The kids say things without thinking. Principal Davidson mediated with patience, but Ryan could tell she was frustrated too. By the end, both families had agreed to have their children apologize to each other, and the school promised to do a unit on diverse family structures in all the elementary grades. "Not ideal," Alex said as they walked back to the car, "but better than nothing." "I hate that she has to deal with this," Ryan said. "She's 9. She should be worried about homework and piano practice, not defending her family against judgmental jerks." "But she did defend us. That's something." Alex squeezed his hand. "She's got a good heart and a strong sense of what's right. That comes from you." That comes from Sarah. And from you now, too. Life settled back into its rhythm over the following weeks, though Emily was quieter than usual, more watchful. She threw herself into piano practice, spending hours at the keyboard working on increasingly difficult pieces. When Ryan asked if she was okay, she just said she was fine and kept playing. Alex noticed too. One evening, she found Emily in the backyard, sitting under the apple tree with her knees pulled to her chest, staring at nothing. "Mind if I join you?" Alex asked. Emily shrugged, which Alex took as permission. She settled onto the grass beside her, not pushing, just being present. "What Jason said," Emily finally spoke, "about you getting tired and leaving. That's not true, right? Not even a little bit true. But what if it is? What if one day you wake up and realize this is too hard? That being with us means dealing with stuff like suspension and mean kids and people judging you?" Alex was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. "Emily, life is hard no matter what. Before I met you and your dad, I was alone in a condo I didn't care about, doing a job I was good at but didn't love, married to someone who didn't really see me. I was safe and successful and completely empty. Then I crashed my car on a random highway, and your dad stopped to help, and suddenly my whole life turned inside out. In a good way? In the best way. Because now I have people I love, a home that feels real, work that matters, because I'm doing it alongside people I respect. Is it harder than before? Yeah, but it's also infinitely better. I wouldn't trade this for anything." Emily leaned against Alex's shoulder. "I'm glad you crashed your car." Alex laughed. "That's probably the weirdest thing anyone's ever been glad about. But I'm glad too." They sat under the apple tree as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, and something in Emily's posture relaxed. The fear didn't disappear entirely. Ryan knew it would probably resurface in different forms as Emily grew, but for now she was reassured. May brought Ryan's first major challenge as supervisor. One of the other mechanics at the shop, a guy named Derek, who'd been there for 8 years, started showing up late and leaving early, his work getting sloppier. Ryan had tried talking to him informally, asking if everything was okay, but Derek brushed him off. Now Pete was getting customer complaints, and something had to be done. "You're going to have to write him up," Pete said. "Document it officially, put him on notice. If it doesn't improve, we'll have to let him go." Ryan hated the idea of disciplining someone he'd worked alongside for years, but he also knew Pete was right. You couldn't let one person's problems drag down the whole team. He called Derek into the office and had the conversation, firm but compassionate, explaining that the behavior had to change. Derek took it badly. "This is because you're sleeping with the boss," he said, his face red with anger. "You get promoted, suddenly you're on some power trip, forgetting where you came from." The words hit harder than Ryan expected. "This has nothing to do with Alex. This is about you showing up 2 hours late 3 times last week and leaving a brake job half-finished that almost got sent out to a customer. Sure it is. You think we don't all see what's happening? You two playing house, her giving you special treatment, you forgetting about the guys who've been here just as long. If you think I'm treating you unfairly, you can file a complaint with HR. But the work issues are documented and real, and they stop now. That's not negotiable." Ryan kept his voice level despite the anger churning in his gut. "You're a good mechanic, Derek. You've been here longer than I have. But something's going on with you, and it's affecting your work. If you need help, personal problems, whatever, we can figure that out. But the current situation can't continue." Derek left without another word, slamming the office door hard enough to rattle the frame. Ryan sat there for a long moment, his hands shaking slightly, wondering if he'd handled it right. He called Alex that night and told her what happened. "You did exactly what you should have," she said. "Drew boundaries, offered support, documented everything. That's good management." "Doesn't feel good." "It never does. That's how you know you're doing it right. The people who enjoy disciplining others are usually doing it for the wrong reasons." Alex paused. "Derek's comment about us, though. That's going to be a thing, isn't it? People assuming favoritism, questioning whether you earned your position. Let them question. I know the truth. You know the truth. That's what matters." "Is it, though? What if this hurts your credibility with the team?" "Then I rebuild credibility through my work. same as always. Ryan was more certain than he expected. I'm not going to apologize for being with you. Not to Derek, not to anyone. Derek's attitude didn't improve. A week later, he showed up drunk and Pete had to fire him on the spot. It was ugly and sad, and Ryan felt guilty even though he knew logically it wasn't his fault. But the rest of the team rallied around him, making it clear they supported the decision and appreciated having a supervisor who actually cared about quality work. Derek was headed down that road long before you got promoted, Carlos said. Personal stuff, drinking problem. You just happened to be the one in charge when it came to a head. Don't beat yourself up. Marcus agreed. You're a good boss, man. Fair, willing to teach, actually listens. That's rare. Don't let one bitter guy make you question that. Their support meant more than Ryan could articulate. He'd been so worried about seeming weak or showing favoritism that he'd forgotten these were his friends, people who'd worked beside him for years and knew his character. Trust, he realized, wasn't something you demanded. It was something you built through consistency and honesty and showing up every day trying to do right. June brought Emily's 10th birthday and the end of the school year. They threw a party in the backyard, inviting Emily's entire class, including Jason Miller, who'd apologized months ago and had mostly left Emily alone since. Mrs. Chen made her famous dumplings, Pete brought a cake shaped like a piano, and Alex organized party games that even the cool kids admitted were fun. Watching Emily surrounded by friends, laughing and happy, Ryan felt that now familiar ache of joy and loss. Sarah should have been here for this. Should have seen their daughter turn 10, should have helped plan the party, should have been the one organizing games and cutting cake. But she wasn't, and life kept moving, and somehow that was both devastating and okay. Alex found him by the fence, away from the party noise. You all right? Yeah, just thinking about Sarah. How she'd have loved this. I'm sure she would have. Alex slipped her hand into his. I hope you know I'm not trying to take her place. Not with Emily, not in your memories. There's room for both of us. I know, and I hope you know that loving you doesn't mean loving her less. It just means my heart got bigger. Alex kissed him softly, and they stood there for a moment before Emily's voice calling for cake pulled them back to the party. That night, after all the guests had left and Emily was in bed with her new books and art supplies, Ryan and Alex cleaned up the backyard together. It had become one of their routines, this quiet working side by side, the comfortable silence that came from knowing each other deeply. I've been thinking, Alex said, gathering paper plates, about us, about the future. Ryan's hand stilled on the trash bag. Yeah? We've been living together for 3 months now. We're raising Emily together, managing our careers together, building a life together. She set down the plates and turned to face him. And I know we're taking things slow, being careful, but I don't feel like I need to be careful anymore. I feel sure. Sure about what? About this. About you. About wanting forever instead of just right now. Alex took a breath. I'm not proposing. I think that's still your job in this scenario, but I'm saying when you're ready, I'm ready. No rush, no pressure. Just wanted you to know. Ryan's heart was doing that thing again where it felt too big for his chest. What if I'm ready now? Are you? He thought about it, really thought about it. About Sarah and his promise to move forward, about Emily's happiness, about the home they'd built and the life they were living, about how Alex made him laugh and challenged him to be better, and loved his daughter like her own. About how she'd walked into his carefully controlled existence and blown it all apart in the best possible way. Yeah, he said. I think I am. Alex's smile was incandescent. Then I think we should start planning. They didn't tell Emily right away, wanting to figure out some details first. Ryan wanted to do it properly, get a ring, plan a proposal that meant something. But Emily, with her uncanny ability to read situations, figured it out within days. You're going to marry Alex, aren't you? She asked Ryan one morning over breakfast. Ryan nearly choked on his coffee. What makes you say that? You keep looking at her like Mom used to look at you in the old photos, all smiley and soft. And Alex keeps humming all the time, which she only does when she's really happy. Emily took a bite of toast. Plus, I heard you two talking last night about rings and proposals. You were supposed to be asleep. I was getting water. You weren't exactly being quiet. Emily grinned. So, when are you asking her?
I don't know yet. Want to make it special. Can I help plan it? Ryan looked at his daughter, so eager and hopeful, and felt his throat tighten. Yes, sweetheart. I'd like that. They spent the next 2 weeks conspiring together, Emily full of ideas ranging from practical to completely absurd. She wanted fireworks and a flash mob, and for Ryan to propose on the beach at sunset while riding horses. Ryan gently steered her towards something more manageable, but kept the spirit of her enthusiasm. The plan they settled on was simple.
A picnic at the state park where Ryan and Sarah had gotten engaged 15 years ago. It felt right to bring things full circle, to honor the past while stepping into the future. Emily helped pack the picnic basket, making sure to include all of Alex's favorite foods. Mrs. Chen contributed homemade cookies and a knowing wink. The Saturday they chose was perfect. Clear skies, warm but not hot, the kind of June day that reminded you why you lived in the Pacific Northwest. Ryan told Alex they were just going for a family outing, nothing special. She believed him right up until they arrived at the park, and Emily suddenly remembered she'd left something in the car and ran back to get it, leaving Ryan and Alex alone on the blanket overlooking the lake. "This is beautiful," Alex said, looking out at the water. "I can see why you picked this spot. I proposed to Sarah here, 15 years ago, almost to the day." Ryan watched Alex's face carefully, but she just smiled. "I'm honored you'd share this place with me. That means a lot." "It does. This place is full of good memories, and I want to add to them. Want to build new ones alongside the old." Ryan took her hand. "These past 8 months with you have been... I don't have words for it. Transformative feels too clinical. Life-changing feels too dramatic. But you've taken this broken, scared guy who was just going through the motions and reminded him how to actually live." "Ryan, let me finish." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the ring he'd spent weeks choosing. Simple, elegant, a sapphire surrounded by small diamonds because Alex had mentioned once that she'd never liked traditional engagement rings. "Alexandra Reed, you crashed into my life literally and figuratively, and I will never stop being grateful for it. You've become Emily's family and my partner and the person I want to build everything with. Will you marry me?" Alex was crying, her hands shaking as she looked at the ring, at Ryan, at the lake and the sky and the life spreading out before them. "Yes. God, yes. Obviously, yes." Ryan slipped the ring onto her finger, and they kissed as Emily's cheer echoed from the parking lot where she'd apparently been watching. She came running back, throwing herself at them both, the three of them tangled together on the picnic blanket, laughing and crying and holding on. "I helped plan it," Emily announced proudly. "Dad wanted to do it at home in the kitchen, but I said that was boring." "The kitchen would have been perfect," Alex said, wiping her eyes. "But this is better. Thank you for sharing this place with me, both of you." They spent the afternoon at the park, eating their picnic and making plans and watching boats drift across the lake. Emily wanted to know about the wedding: when, where, what she'd wear, whether she could help plan it. Alex promised to involve her in every decision, and Emily beamed. On the drive home, Emily fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted from excitement. Ryan glanced at Alex in the passenger seat, the ring catching the light, her smile soft and content. "Happy?" he asked. "Ridiculously happy, almost suspicious of how happy." She laughed. "After Michael, after the divorce, I thought maybe I'd used up my chance at this, that I'd picked wrong once and that was it. But this, it's like getting a second chance at getting it right." "I know the feeling." Ryan reached over and squeezed her hand. "Sarah used to say that the universe gives you what you need when you're ready for it. I didn't believe her at the time. Seemed like wishful thinking. But maybe she was right. I wish I could have met her. I wish you could have too. She'd have liked you. Would have appreciated how you've loved Emily, how you've taken care of us both." They drove through the gathering dusk, through the town they'd both chosen in different ways, toward the home they'd built together. Tomorrow they'd call their families and tell them the news. Next week, Alex would officially transfer her headquarters to Ashford permanently, giving up the regional travel to focus on the local locations. The wedding would be in September, small and intimate, just family and close friends. Life would continue with its complications and challenges and unexpected joys. But tonight, Ryan thought, tonight they could just be happy. Mrs. Chen threw them an engagement party that somehow included the entire neighborhood, her house overflowing with people and food and congratulations. Pete brought champagne and embarrassed Ryan with a toast about how he had always known they were perfect for each other. Marcus and Carlos presented them with a custom-made toolbox with the Coopers engraved on it, which made Alex laugh until she cried. "We're not even married yet," she protested. "Doesn't matter," Carlos said. "You're family now. You were family when you started coming to Sunday dinners. This just makes it official." The summer passed in a blur of wedding planning and work and normal life. Emily helped choose the flowers and the cake flavors and insisted on performing a piano piece at the ceremony. Alex's parents flew in from Florida for a week, and while the meeting was awkward at first, they'd loved Michael and were disappointed by the divorce. They warmed up quickly to Ryan and completely fell in love with Emily. "You've got a good one here," Alex's father told Ryan over beers in the backyard while Alex and her mother went through wedding magazines inside. "Different from Michael, more solid, more real. I try to be." "Alex seems happy in a way she never was with him. That matters more than anything." He paused. "You know about Michael, right? About why they really divorced?" Ryan shook his head. Alex had told him it was incompatibility, different life goals, but there'd always been a sense she was leaving something out. He cheated, multiple times with multiple women. Alex tried to make it work, went to counseling, did everything right, but he didn't want to change, just wanted her to accept it and keep playing the corporate wife. Alex's father took a long drink. When she finally filed for divorce, he tried to destroy her, made it as difficult as possible, dragged it out for months, tried to damage her reputation at work. The stuff with the lawyers and dragging you into it, that was just the end of a long campaign of cruelty. Ryan felt sick. "She never told me that part." She wouldn't. Alex doesn't like admitting when she's been hurt, sees it as weakness, which is something her mother and I probably screwed up teaching her. He looked at Ryan seriously. "What I'm saying is, be patient with her. If she pulls away sometimes or seems guarded, it's not about you. It's about Michael training her that vulnerability gets punished." "I'm not Michael." "I can see that. But she might need reminding sometimes. Just keep showing up, keep being steady. That's what she needs most." That night, after her parents had gone back to their hotel, Ryan and Alex lay in bed, and he told her what her father had said. She was quiet for a long time. "I didn't want you to think I was damaged goods," she finally said, "or that I was bringing too much baggage into this. Everyone's got baggage. Mine is a dead wife and a kid who still has nightmares about losing me. Your baggage is a cheating ex-husband who tried to break you. We're all carrying something. But mine feels so stupid, like I should have seen the signs earlier, should have left sooner. Loving someone isn't stupid. Trying to make it work isn't stupid. The only stupid thing would be letting what he did keep you from being happy now." Ryan pulled her close. "You're not damaged goods, Alex. You're strong and brave, and you survived something that would have broken a lot of people. That's nothing to be ashamed of." She cried then, letting out years of hurt and anger and shame she'd been carrying alone. Ryan just held her, offering comfort the way she'd offered it to him so many times. By morning, she seemed lighter, like naming the pain had somehow diminished its power. August brought the final preparations for the wedding. They'd chosen to have it in their backyard, under the apple tree that had bloomed so beautifully in spring and was now heavy with fruit, small and simple, just 40 people who actually mattered. Emily would walk Alex down the aisle, which had been Alex's idea and made Emily glow with pride. Mrs. Chen was catering, refusing to let them hire anyone else. Pete would officiate, having gotten ordained online specifically for this purpose. The night before the wedding, Ryan couldn't sleep. He found Emily awake too, sitting in the living room in her pajamas. "Big day tomorrow," he said, settling beside her. "Yeah." Emily was quiet for a moment. "Dad, is it okay that I'm excited about you and Alex getting married? Is that betraying Mom?" Ryan's heart broke and healed simultaneously. "Oh, sweetheart, no. It's not betraying Mom at all. Mom wanted us to be happy, remember? She'd be excited too." "You think so?" "I know so." Ryan pulled out his phone and found the video he kept there, the one Sarah had recorded 2 weeks before she died. "I want to show you something." Mom made this for both of us. He pressed play. Sarah's face filled the screen, thin and tired, but still beautiful, still so clearly present. "Hi, my loves," her recorded voice said. "If you're watching this, it means I'm gone and you're trying to figure out how to keep going. So here's what I want you to know. Ryan, you're going to be fine. You're going to raise our daughter to be strong and kind, and you're going to find love again. And that's not just okay. That's wonderful. Don't you dare spend the rest of your life alone because you think that honors me. Honor me by living, by being happy, by showing Emily that loss doesn't mean the end of joy." Sarah turned her attention to the camera like she could see through time to this moment. "And Emily, baby girl, if Dad finds someone new, I want you to give them a chance. Not because they're replacing me, nobody could ever do that, but because they're adding to our family. Love isn't finite. There's always room for more. So be happy, both of you. Be wildly, ridiculously happy. That's what I want most." The video ended. Emily was crying, but she was smiling too. She knew we'd find Alex. Maybe she did. Or maybe she just knew that we'd find someone, and she wanted to give us permission to be okay with it. They watched the video 2 more times before Emily finally felt ready for bed. Ryan tucked her in, kissed her forehead, and stood in the doorway watching her sleep the way he had when she was a baby. Tomorrow he'd marry Alex, would make their family official in every way that mattered. And Sarah would be there too, in the choices they'd made, in the love they'd learned from her, in the courage to try again. The wedding day dawned perfect, clear skies, gentle breeze, the kind of September day that felt like a gift. Ryan got up early and found Alex already awake in the guest room where she'd slept the night before because Emily had insisted you couldn't see the bride before the ceremony for good luck. "Couldn't sleep either?" he asked from the doorway. "Too excited. Come here." They stood in the hallway, technically not breaking tradition because they couldn't see each other clearly in the dim light, just holding hands and breathing together. "Last chance to run," Ryan joked.